late.
Go ahead. Hey now!
Oh my god.
Is that?
You have to do the intro now.
No, I can't.
You have to do it.
That was an accident. That wasn't supposed to happen.
You have to do it, Adam.
It's all you, buddy.
Hey now! It's your boy PSA Sitch here with another debate live stream with everyone's favorite Adam, friended forever. Today we will be looking at day 2 of the first Democrat primary debate. This time with 100% more Yang.
Yeah, this time with all the good people. All the people we really wanted. Poor Tulsi. Tulsi should have been on this debate. All the cool people are in this debate.
Yeah, this is like all the cool people, except for... This was all the front runners except for Elizabeth Warren, basically.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Yeah,
this couldn't have been random either because they had 3 women for each, right? There's a 3... Yeah, there's 3 women in the other debate.
Oh. It's supposed to be random, but I guess they're trying to tell you this is how real equality works. This is equality of outcome right here. Totally random.
It was random, except we had to have the exact same amount of women in each debate.
Yeah. So
random by gender stratification. Anyway, so wait, we got to start off by saying right now we're watching the ABC stream because NBC is, they were copyright striking people. We didn't get a copyright strike, but they're so chintzy right now that you literally cannot watch the NBC stream right now on the Watch Together room. It won't allow it to be played off YouTube, off the YouTube site. So what this means is it's possible. We're not sure if ABC is going to play the debate. I'm thinking probably not. So most likely what will happen is Adam will just we'll just both watch the debate on YouTube, which means we won't be able to pause it. So, because Adam will be watching it on YouTube on his own screen, and I'll have to watch it on my own screen as well. So I guess that will solve the question of whether to pause it or not. So well, maybe it all works out.
You could yell out, pause!
Yeah, but we're going to get so desynced because we're both going to have to try to pause at the same
simultaneously.
Time.
Well, we try. I mean, we could give it a whirl.
Nah, we'll just turn the volume down a little bit, I guess, so we can yell over it. How about that?
Like, you can be...
All right. I got the other one up.
Cool. Someone wants us to, instead of streaming the debate, to discuss various storylines from the book series Animorphs.
I haven't seen Animorphs. I haven't read Animorphs.
You haven't read Animorphs? Well, that's because you're not my age. It was like a 90s kid thing.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Anyways. So I'm hoping that Yang does well tonight and doesn't pull. Well, here's a weird thing. Everyone's saying, well, not everyone. Lots of people on the internet think Tulsi did really good last night.
Right. Yeah. Because they like Tulsi.
Is that just is it just delusion?
Yeah. Well, that's how life works. Are you kidding me? You immediately, the candidate that you like, we're going to think Yang does good tonight, even if he's terrible.
No, come on. Well, I'll be sincere. I don't know about you.
Well, I'm going to be 100%. I'm going to be 100% sincerely biased in favor of Yang.
But wait a minute. I like Tulsi. I should be biased in favor of her. I just didn't feel the fire. Okay?
Well, I was biased in favor of Tulsi.
Right.
You were giving her a hard time on Twitter, and I was slapping you around, going, "Hey, leave her alone. She had a great night."
You just like her because she looks like a rogue.
Don't you know how to spin? We're in the spin room. We're technically I forgot. This is bedroom punditry here.
I forgot. We can't be honest. We have to be in this is the spin zone.
Yeah, this is the full spin zone.
Right. So fortunately, I'm assuming that your beautiful visual setup with the little Trump face and the Trump Twitter and all this stuff prevented us from getting copyright struck.
Really? That's awesome.
Well, I'm assuming because if you have the screen like not big enough, it won't get picked up by the auto copyright recognition.
Yeah. True. So, very true.
That's the secret, guys. You just gotta fuck with your screen a little bit.
We added enough fire to we added enough commentary and enough visual zing.
You need visual commentary.
Yeah. We did. We had Trump's boring out there. They were like, how can we strike that? It's so accurate.
Exactly.
It's exactly what happened.
So, you're not live on your screen, are you? Because I'm looking at something different.
I am live on the NBC.
Uh-oh.
What?
Wait a minute. Uh-oh. Are you?
Yeah.
No, you're not. You're totally not live. You liar. Reload the page.
I am, yeah. Minutes away from the Dem debate. Live. NBC News.
Maybe like there's like a second delay because you're like across the country from me.
What? Really?
Oh no, guys. We're gonna wait. I'll just pause it.
That's hilarious.
Let me pause it. I'll try to. I have to watch and try to catch it up.
Has the debate? Okay, it's up now. Here, I'm bringing up the volume.
Oh wait, no, I'm
not
an
quite
idiot.
sure, Michael. I heard a deep sigh coming on.
I'm not even gonna say what's happening.
You're on the watch together.
Contrast with Pete and Joe Biden on issues of race. I think that's going to be something that you're going to see.
My brain just literally stopped
between him and Kamala Harris.
We don't get to see him. We don't get to see him go out.
He is the front runner here, and he is the person.
Here, I'll give you a pause. I paused it.
No, don't pause. No,
say something.
No pausing. What are you doing, man?
No, I agree, and I think after this, Joe Biden, if I was at Vice President Biden,
now?
I would write a speech, and I would go over his record and his history, and I would
address
every single thing that's problematic today.
May Yang
destroy. I'm a different person. Things were different then, but this is who I am today. I recognize how the party has changed, and I am willing to meet the party and its voters where
Daniel
they
Irish
are.
for $5.
To get it
Trump saved your stream, and yet you still dislike him. Sad. Yep. You know what? That's just the burden of being president. Just weighs down on you.
Yeah.
Oh, you know why they didn't show them walking out?
Why?
Because they don't want you to see the height difference.
You don't want to see. They don't want to see when they step up on the thing.
Yes, because they have little stools there for some of the people that are shorter to stand on.
They don't want to see Yang walk in like about 4 foot high, and then all of a sudden it's like he's walking upstairs to get up to the podium.
But wait a minute, look how is Yang really tall? Look how tall he's standing.
It's Buttigie. Buttigie is like the 3-footer.
No, but look, compare his head height to everyone else.
Yeah, Yang's doing. Yang's on he's on the stool. He's on the stool.
He's got like 10 phone books stacked up on the floor. Under
yourself.
I'm running it live. I keep muting the volume, so.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna mute the volume. We're not gonna pause it.
No pausing.
No pausing.
Yeah.
We're gonna get in trouble. We told them there'd be pausing.
Well, you know what? Life's full of these little surprises. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I can't do anything about it.
Jump in on the Watch Together room every now and again and see if ABC's simulcasting. That's what they call it. That's a technical term.
from big industry insider tip from Adam. Simulcast.
Oh, they keep dodging back in. These are the same people that were talking about the debate last night, but we didn't get to hear what they said.
Who? I don't know who these people. I've never seen any of these people in my life, Adam.
They're the millennial crowd. They're like, none of us vote, but we're here to talk about what we thought.
Yeah, right. They all look a little too old to be millennials. They're like, or maybe they're on like the tip top end of that.
Maybe. Oh, this is exciting. I can't wait.
It's going to be boring.
Is Yang going to go first? Who's going first?
Underestimate it.
And just fine.
I hope Yang gets, I hope Yang gets all the questions. Or he's got to jump in.
Oh, look. Already Biden's got his hands on somebody. He can't wait. He's like
5 seconds in, he can't.
He's already palming Buttigieg. Yep.
Oh, is that who that is?
Yeah, did you see him?
He looks like such a child.
He does. He's
like a little boy.
Here.
Things would be exactly the same.
12-year-old boy, Buttigieg.
I know.
Oh, so everyone, I bought a 100-foot long.
Oh, you plugged in?
Ethernet cord. Yep. I am plugged into the Ethernet. So am I cutting out or is it?
No, you sound great. Are you kidding me? You haven't had one cutout yet.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we'll do this from the future from now on. We'll have no more cutting outs. We'll be jacked in.
Did you, Sitch DM'd me on Twitter. He's like, how the hell would I find 100-foot cable? And I'm like, what color do you want? Purple? Like they literally have
to Amazon, like
they literally have it in like 10 different colors.
Well, look, I assumed it was something I have to buy online. I didn't think I could go down to my local, Best Buy and they'd just be like, yeah, we have like 1 million 100-foot long Ethernet cords. I was like, oh, okay, that's fine.
I sent you the 250-foot, man. You only needed the 100-foot. Listen,
I only need the 100-foot.
Bragging about how far away.
Look, there's lots of twists and turns and under doors and all sorts of things. It wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be. Far more difficult than it was.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my God! Look at the downvotes on the video. You see that?
I do. Yeah.
It started. It's starting, guys.
I don't hear anything. Oh, here it is.
Good evening, I'm Lester Holt, and welcome to night 2 of the first Democratic debate in the 2020 race for president.
The ABC stream stops, so I guess that answers the question.
We heard from 10 candidates, and now 10 more take the stage.
And again tonight, we'll be joined in the questioning by our colleagues, Jose Diaz-Balart, Chuck Todd, and Rachel Maddow.
The candidates are in position, so let's get started.
Tonight, round 2, Colorado Senator Michael Bennet, former Vice President Joe Biden, South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg,
12-year-old
Senator Kirsten Gillibrand,
12-year-old runaway
California
Pete
Senator
Buttigieg.
Kamala Harris, former Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, California Congressman Eric Swalwell, author Marianne Williamson, and
he's on the same spot as Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah.
NBC News.
Top billing right there.
The Democratic candidates debate.
Fuck you, Bernie.
Live from the Adrian Arst Performing Arts
Get
Center
stuffed.
in Miami, Florida.
Yeah, it does still look like a game show. It does. Okay, so what's your prediction on, are they going to do Spanish or not?
America tonight, we continue this spirited debate about the future of the country, how to tackle our most pressing problems, and getting to the heart of the biggest issues in this Democratic primary.
Tonight we're going to talk about healthcare,
okay, so I'm going to say 40% chance someone's going to do Spanish.
Climate change as well.
40% chance?
Yeah, 40%
they may sound familiar. 20 candidates qualified
I don't know.
for this
It
first
seems
debate.
like it would just be like a follow-up
Heard from
thing.
10 last night, and we'll hear
That's why
from
I'm giving
10
it like a
more
little
tonight.
bit on the low
breakdown
end.
for each night was selected at random.
No one's doing
The candidates will have 60
would do
seconds
Spanish?
to answer, 30
I don't
seconds for
fucking
any
know.
follow-up.
And
Buttigieg?
because of the large field
Bernie
of
Sanders
candidates,
is
not
gonna whip it
every
out.
person is going to be able to weigh in on every topic. But over the course of the next 2 hours, we will hear from everyone.
And we love our audience, but we'd like to ask them to keep their reactions to a minimum, and we're not going to hold back in making sure the candidates stick to time. So with that business taken care of, let's get to it. And we're going to start today with Senator Sanders. Good evening to you. You've called for big new government benefits like universal health care and free college. In a recent interview, you said you suspected that Americans would be, quote, delighted to pay more taxes for things like that. My question to you is, will taxes go up for the middle class in a Sanders administration? And if so, how do you sell that to voters?
Well, you're quite right. We have a new vision for America. And at a time when we have 3 people in this country owning more wealth than the bottom half of America, while 500,000 people are sleeping out on the streets today, we think it is time for change, real change. And by that I mean that health care, in my view, is a human right. And we have got to pass a Medicare for all single-payer system. Under that system, by the way, vast majority of the people in this country will be paying significantly less for health care than they are right now. I believe that education is the future for this country.
It's not really answering the question,
and that is why I believe that we must make public colleges and universities tuition free and eliminate student debt, and we do that by placing a tax on Wall Street. Every proposal that I have brought forth is fully paid for.
Senator Sanders, I'll give you 10 seconds just to answer the very direct question. Will you raise taxes for the middle class in a Sanders administration?
Hell no!
People who have health care under Medicare for All will have no premiums,
oh, okay.
no deductibles, no co-payments, no out-of-pocket expenses. Yes, they will pay more in taxes, but less in health care.
Someone's already trying to jump in.
Senator Bennet, we're going to get to everybody, I promise, but let me just, Senator Biden, promise everybody's going to get in here, promise. Vice President Biden. Senator Sanders, as you know, has been calling for a revolution. Recently, in remarks to a group of wealthy donors, as you were speaking about the problem of
it's weird, they gave
inequality
Bernie
in
the
this
center
country,
stage and not Biden.
We shouldn't, quote, demonize the rich. You said nobody has to be punished. No one's standard of living would change. Nothing would fundamentally change. What did you mean by that?
What I meant by that is, look, Donald Trump thinks Wall Street built America.
My dad used to say.
Ordinary middle-class Americans build America. My dad used to have an expression. He said, Joe, a job is about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's being able to look your kid in the eye and say everything's going to be okay. Too many people who are in the middle class and poor have at the bottom fall out under this proposal. What I'm saying is that we've got to be straightforward. We have to make sure we understand that to return dignity to the middle class, they have to have insurance that is covered and they can afford it. They have to make sure that we're in a situation where there's continuing education and they're able to pay for it. And they have to make sure that they're able to breathe air that is clean and they have water that they can drink. Look, Donald Trump has put us in a horrible situation. What the fuck was the question about?
Yeah, I know.
We do have enormous income
He's having
inequality.
a senior moment on his first question.
And the one thing I agree on is we can make massive cuts in the $1.6 trillion in tax loopholes out there, and I would be going about eliminating Donald Trump's tax cuts for the wealthy.
Vice President Biden, thank you. Senator Harris.
What was the question again?
There's a lot of talk in this primary about new government benefits, such as
Doesn't
student
it look like
loan
she's holding a
cancellation,
fart?
free college, health care, and more. Do you think that Democrats have a responsibility to explain how they will pay for every proposal they make along those lines?
Well, let me tell you something. I hear that question, but where was that question when the Republicans and Donald Trump passed a tax bill that benefits the top 1% and the biggest corporations in this country, contributing at least $1 trillion to the debt of America, which middle-class families will pay for one way or another? Working families need support and need to be lifted up. And frankly, this economy is not working for working people. For too long, the rules have been written in the favor of the people who have the most and not in favor of the people who work the most, which is why I am proposing that we change the tax code. So for every family that is making less than $100,000 a year, they will receive a tax credit that they can collect up to $500 a month, which will make all the difference between those families being able to get through the end of the month with dignity and with support or not. And on day one, I will repeal that tax bill that benefits the top 1% and the biggest corporations of America.
Senator Harris, thank you. Governor Hickenlooper, let me get you in on this. You've warned that Democrats will lose in 2020 if they embrace socialism, as you put it. You were booed at the California Democratic Convention when you said that.
Who's this guy?
Only one candidate on this stage, Senator Sanders, identifies himself as a democratic socialist.
Scott Adams had a great point.
What are the policies or positions of your opponents
just need to
that
keep
you
the names
think
under their faces
are veering
the whole time.
towards socialism?
Well, I think that the bottom line is if we don't clearly define that we are not socialists, the Republicans are going to come at us every way they can and call us socialists. And if you look at the Green New Deal, which I admire the sense of urgency and how important it is to do climate change. I'm a scientist, but we can't promise every American a government job. If you want to get universal health care coverage, I believe that health care is a right and not a privilege. But you can't expect to eliminate private insurance for 180 million people, many of whom don't want to give it up. In Colorado, we brought businesses and nonprofits together. We got near universal health care coverage. We were the first state in America to bring the environmental community and the oil and gas industry to aggressively address methane emissions. And we were also the first place to expand reproductive rights on a scale basis, and we reduced teen pregnancy by 54%. We've done the big progressive things that people said couldn't be done.
Fuck those socialists.
Pretty much everyone else up here is still talking about doing.
Governor, thank you. Senator Sanders, I'll give you a chance to weigh in here. What is your response to those who say nominating a socialist would re-elect Donald Trump?
Well, I think the response is that the last poll I saw had us 10 points ahead of Donald Trump. because the American people understand that Trump is a phony, that Trump is a pathological liar and a racist, and that he lied to the American people during his campaign. He said he was going to stand up for working families. Well, President Trump, you're not standing up for working families when you try to throw 32 million people off the health care that they have.
A good persuasive deflection.
Of your tax benefits
go
to the top 1%. That's how we beat Trump. We expose him for the fraud that he is.
I disagree with both their perspectives. The debate we're having in our party right now is confusing because the truth is there's a big difference between capitalism on the one hand and greed on the other. And so all the things that we're trying to change is when companies care more about profits when they do about people. So if you're talking about ending gun violence, it's the greed of the NRA and the gun manufacturers that make any progress impossible. It's the greed of the insurance companies and the drug companies when we want to try to get health care as a right and not a privilege.
She's not doing a president voice. You have to do a president voice when you're running for president.
We want healthy capitalism. We don't want corrupted capitalism.
It's all about the greed.
Thank you. Senator Bennet, you have said, quote, it's possible to write policy proposals that have no basis in reality. You might as well call them candy.
I'm being
Were you
called
referring
on.
to any candidate or proposal in particular when you said that?
Was that directed to me?
Yes, that was your quote.
That sounded like me. Thank you.
It was you.
I appreciate it. Well, look, first of all, I agree completely with Bernie about what the fundamental challenge we're facing as a country is. 40 years of no economic growth for 90% of the American people. 160,000 families in the top 0.1% have the same wealth as the bottom 90%.
This guy's lip color is too close to his face color.
And we've got the worst income inequality that we've had in 100 years. Where I disagree is on his solution on Medicare for all.
Vox, man.
You know, I propose getting to universal health care, which we need to do. It is a right. Health care is a right. We need to get to universal health care. I believe the way to do that is by finishing the work we started with Obamacare and creating a public option that every family and every person in America can make a choice for their family about whether they want a public option, which for them would be like having Medicare for all, or whether they want to keep their private insurance. I believe we will get there much more quickly if we do that.
But wait,
Bernie, if I could just finish, Bernie mentioned that the taxes that we'd have to pay, because of those taxes, Vermont rejected Medicare for all.
Senator,
Bernie's like, oh, Liz whippersnapper.
To talk about health care at length, Senator, but for the moment, my colleague Jose wants to continue the question.
I wrote the part in Senator Sanders' bill. I wrote the part in Senator Sanders' bill that is the transition, which merges what the two senators said. Because the truth is, if you have a buy-in over a 4 or 5 year period, you move us to single payer more quickly.
Senator, we will get to this. We will get to this. Before we do, I want to say hello and good evening, buenas noches to Mayor Buttigieg.
Buenas noches, gracias de invitarnos.
Gusto en verlo, caballero. Many of your colleagues on stage support free college. You do not. Why not?
Are you like lagged behind me?
College affordability is personal for us.
Perhaps.
Chasten and I have 6-figure student debt.
Hit the live button.
I believe in reducing student debt. It's logical to me that if you can refinance your house, you ought to be able to refinance your student debt. I also believe in free college for low and middle income students for whom cost could be a barrier. I just don't believe it makes sense to ask working class families to subsidize even the children of billionaires. I think the children of the wealthiest Americans can pay at least a little bit of tuition. And while I want tuition costs to go down, I don't think we can buy down every last penny for that. Now, there's something else that doesn't get talked about in the college affordability debate. Yes, it needs to be more affordable in this country to go to college. It also needs to be more affordable in this country to not go to college. You should be able to live well, afford rent, be generous to your church and Little League. Whether you went to college or not, that's one of many reasons we need to raise the minimum wage to at least $15 an hour.
Jose, I've got $100,000 in student loan debt myself.
Let me get to you.
We can't count on the people who've been in government for the last 30 years who were around when this problem was created to be the ones to solve it. It's going to be the next generation,
them 12-year-olds
the 40 million
who can't
of us
vote,
who can't start a family, can't take a good idea and start a business, and can't buy our first home. This is the generation that's going to be able to solve student loan debt. This generation is ready to lead.
Mr. Yang, your signature policy is to give every adult in the United States $1,000 a month, no questions asked.
That's right.
I think that's like $3.2 trillion a year. How would you do that?
Sorry?
How would you do that?
Oh, so it's difficult to do if you have companies like Amazon, trillion-dollar tech companies paying literally zero in taxes while they're closing 30% of our stores. Now, we need to put the American people in position to benefit from all these innovations in other parts of the economy. And if we had a value-added tax at even half the European level, it would generate over $800 billion in new revenue, which combined with the money in our hands, it would be the trickle-up economy from our people, families, and communities up. We would spend the money and it would circulate through our regional economies and neighborhoods, creating millions of jobs, making our families stronger and healthier. We'd save money on things like incarceration, homelessness services, emergency room health care, and just the value gains from having a stronger, healthier, mentally healthier population would increase GDP by $700 billion. This is the move that we have to make, particularly as technology is now automating away millions of American jobs. It's why Donald Trump is our president today, that we automated away 4 million manufacturing jobs in Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. And we're about to do the same thing to millions of retail jobs, call center jobs, fast food jobs, truck driving jobs, and on through the economy.
Mr. Yang, if I get you understand a little bit better, so you're saying $1,000 a month for everyone over 18, but a value-added tax, so you can spend that $1,000 on value-added tax?
Well, the value-added tax would end up, you'd still be increasing the buying power of the bottom 94% of Americans. You have to spend a lot of money for a mild value-added tax to eat up $12,000 a year per individual. So for the average family with 2 or 3 adults, it'd be $24,000 to $36,000 a year.
No, that was the best. Oh my God, was that not the best thing you've ever heard in my life?
Oh my, I just mentioned many Americans are worried that things like self-driving cars,
Yang was so
robots,
inspiring.
Drones, artificial intelligence will cost them their jobs.
That's unfortunate.
What would you do to help people get the skills they need to adapt to this new world?
We must always be a country where technology creates more jobs than it displaces. And I've seen the anxiety across America where the manufacturing floors go from 1,000 to 100 to 1. So we have to modernize our schools,
Adam, the future generations will lead us.
Wipe the student debt from any teacher that goes into a community that needs it. Invest in America's communities, especially where places where the best exports are people who move away to get skills. But Jose, I was 6 years old when a presidential candidate came to the California Democratic Convention and said, it's time to pass the torch to a new generation of Americans. That candidate was then Senator Joe Biden. Joe Biden was right when he said it was time to pass the torch to a new generation of Americans 32 years ago. He's still right today. If we're going to solve the issues of automation, pass the torch. If we're going to solve the issues of climate chaos, pass the torch. If we're going to solve the issue of student loan debt, pass the torch. If we're going to end gun violence for families who are fearful of sending their kids to school, pass the torch.
Vice President, would you like to sing a torch song?
Shake and bake. I'm still holding on to that torch. I want to make it clear to you, look, the fact of the matter is what we have to do is make sure that everybody is prepared better to go on to educate for an education. The fact is that's why I propose us focusing on schools that are in distress. That's why I think we should triple the amount of money we spend for Title I schools. That's why I think we should have universal pre-K. That's why I think every single person who graduates from high school, 65 out of 100 now need something beyond high school. And we should provide for them to be able to get that education. That's why there should be free community college, cutting in half the cost of college. That's why we should be in a position where we do not have anyone have to pay back a student debt when they get out. They are making less than $25,000 a year. Their debt is frozen, no interest payment until they get beyond that. We can't put people in a position where they aren't able to go on and move on. And so, folks, there's a lot we can do, but we have to make continuing education available for everyone so that everyone can compete in the 21st century. We're not doing that now.
As the youngest guy on the stage, I feel like I probably ought to contribute to the generational conversation.
As part of Joe's generation,
I'm all for
part of Joe's generation. Let me respond.
Before we move on
from
Please.
Mansplain.
Generational. The issue is who has the guts to take on Wall Street, to take on the fossil fuel industry,
to take on the big money interests who have unbelievable influence over the economic and political life of this country.
These issues haven't gotten better.
Senator Harris, I'm so sorry. We will let all of you speak. Senator Harris. Senator Harris. Please. We will let you all speak. Senator Harris.
We can't afford to wait for evolution on these issues.
Okay, guys, you know what? America does not want to witness a food fight. They want to know how we're going to put food on their table. Yes.
Yay.
So, on that point, part of the issue that is at play in America today, and we've all been traveling around the country, I certainly have, I'm meeting people who are working 2 and 3 jobs. You know, this president walks around talking about and flouting his great economy, right? My great economy, my great economy. You ask him, well, how are you measuring this greatness of this economy of yours? And he talks about the stock market. Well, that's fine if you own stocks. So many families in America do not. You ask them, how are you measuring the greatness of this economy of yours? And they point to the jobless numbers and the unemployment numbers. Well, yeah, people in America are working. They're working 2 and 3 jobs. So when we talk about jobs, let's be really clear. In our America, no one should have to work more than 1 job to have a roof over their head and food on the table.
Thank you very much, Senator.
We've all expressed an interest in talking about health care. So let's talk about health care. And this is going to be a show of hands question. We asked a question about health care last night that spurred a lot of discussion, as you know. We're going to do it again now. Many people watching at home have health insurance of their employer. Who here would abolish their private health insurance in favor of a government-run plan? Yeah. All right. Kirsten Gillibrand, Senator Gillibrand.
Yeah, so no, it's my turn.
Go ahead.
So this is a very important issue. So the plan that Senator Sanders and I and others support, Medicare for All, is how you get to single payer. But it has a buy-in transition period, which is really important. In 2005, when I ran for Congress in a 2-to-1 Republican district, I actually ran on Medicare for All, and I won that 2-to-1 Republican district twice. And the way I formulated it was simple. Anyone who doesn't have access to insurance they like, they could buy in at a percentage of income they could afford. So that's what we put into the transition period for our Medicare for All plan. I believe we need to get to universal health care as a right, not a privilege, to single payer. The quickest way you get there is you create competition with the insurers. God bless the insurers. If they want to compete, they can certainly try. But they've never put people over their profits, and I doubt they ever will. So what will happen is people will choose Medicare, you will transition, we will get to Medicare for All, and then your step to single payer is so short. I would make it an earned benefit, just like Social Security, so that you buy in your whole life. It is always there for you, and it's permanent, and it's universal.
Senator, your time is up. I want to put that same question to Mayor Buttigieg.
Yeah, we've taught, look, everybody who says Medicare for all, every person in politics who allows that phrase to escape their lips has a responsibility to explain how you're actually supposed to get from here to there. Now, here's how I would do it. It's very similar. I would call it Medicare for all who want it. You take something like Medicare, a flavor of that, you make it available on the exchanges, people can buy in, and then if people like us are right, that will be not only a more inclusive plan, but a more efficient plan than any of the corporate answers out there, then it will be a very natural glide path to the single-payer environment. But let's remember, even in countries that have outright socialized medicine, like England, even there's still a private sector. That's fine. It's just that for our primary care, we can't be relying on the tender mercies of the corporate system. This one's very personal for me. I started out this year dealing with the terminal illness of my father. I make decisions for a living. And nothing could have prepared me for the kind of decisions our family faced. But the thing we had going for us was that we never had to make those decisions based on whether it was going to bankrupt our family because of Medicare. And I want every family to have that same freedom to do what is medically right, not live in financial fear.
Your time is complete. Vice President Biden, I want to put the question to you. You were one of the architects of Obamacare. So where do we go from here?
Look, this is very personal to me.
Jesus.
When my wife and daughter were killed in an automobile accident, my 2 boys were really very badly injured. I couldn't imagine what it would be like had I not had adequate health care available immediately. And then when my son came home from Iraq after a year, he was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and he was given months to live. I can't fathom what would have happened if, in fact, they said, by the way, the last 6 months of your life, you're on your own. We're cutting off. You've used up your time. The fact of the matter is that the quickest, fastest way to do it is build on Obamacare, to build on what we did.
Yeah.
And secondly, to make sure that everyone does have an option. Everyone, whether they have private insurance, employer insurance, or no insurance, they in fact can buy in the exchange to a Medicare-like plan. And the way to do that, we can do it quickly. Look, urgency matters. There's people right now facing what I faced and what we faced without any of the help I had. We must move now. I'm against any Democrat who opposes that takes down Obamacare and any Republican who wants to get rid of it.
Let me turn to Senator Sanders. Senator Sanders,
let me know when you get to Bernie.
Want to scrap the private health insurance system as we know it and replace it with a government-run plan. None of the states that have tried something like that, California, Vermont, New York, has struggled with it, have been successful. If politicians can't make it work in those states, how would you implement it on a national level? How does this work?
Listen, I find it hard to believe that every other major country on earth, including my neighbor 50 miles north of me, Canada, somehow has figured out a way to provide health care to every man, woman, and child, and in most cases, they're spending 50% per capita what we are spending. Let's be clear. Let us be very clear. Right? The function of health care today, from the insurance and drug company perspective, is not to provide quality care to all in a cost-effective way. The function of the healthcare system today is to make billions in profits for the insurance companies. And last year, if you could believe it, while we pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, and I will lower prescription drug prices in half in this country, top 10 companies made $69 billion in profit. They will spend hundreds of millions of dollars lying to the American people, telling us why we cannot have a Medicare.
Fuck those people.
I just have to follow up there. How do you implement it on a national level? How do you implement it on a national level, given the fact it's not succeeded and other states have tried?
I will tell you how we'll do it. We'll do it the way real change has always taken place, whether it was the labor movement, the civil rights movement, or the women's movement. We will have Medicare for all when tens of millions of people are prepared to stand up and tell the insurance companies and the drug companies that their day is gone, that health care is a human right, not something to make huge profits off.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Williamson. Ms. Williamson, this is a question for you. We've been excuse me. I'm addressing the question, Ms. Williamson. We've been talking a lot about access to health insurance, but for many Americans, their most pressing concern is the high cost of health care. How would you lower the cost of prescription drugs?
Well, first of all, the government should never have made the deal with the big pharma that they couldn't negotiate. That was just part of the regular corruption by which multinational corporations have their way with us. You know, I want to say that while I agree with, I'm with Senator Bennet and others, but I agree with almost everything here. I'll tell you one thing. It's really nice if we've got all these plans, but if you think we're going to beat Donald Trump by just having all these plans, you got another thing coming. Because he didn't win by saying he had a plan. He won by simply saying, make America great again. Ooh. We've got to get deeper than just these superficial fixes, as important as they are. Even if we're just talking about the superficial fixes, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have a health care system in the United States. We have a sickness care system in the United States. We just wait till somebody gets sick, and then we talk about who's going to pay for the treatment and how they're going to be treated. What we need to talk about is why so many Americans have unnecessary chronic illnesses, so many more compared to other countries. And that gets back into not just the big pharma, not just health insurance companies. It has to do with chemical policies. It has to do with environmental policies. It has to do with food policies.
I like her, though.
Yeah. Put her at the center of the stage.
Put her at the center. Question for you. You want to keep the system that we have in place with Obamacare and build on it. You mentioned that a moment ago. Is that enough to get us to universal coverage?
I believe that will get us the quickest way there. And I thought the Vice
man.
President was very moving about this, and Mayor Pete as well.
He's just
eyebrows
and no lips.
Recently, as you may know, and it's why I was a little late getting in the race. The same week, my kid had her appendectomy out. And I feel very strongly that families ought to be able to have this choice. I think that's what the American people want. I believe it will get us there quickly. There are millions of people in America that do not have health insurance today because they can't. They're too wealthy. They make too much money to be on Medicaid. They can't afford health insurance. When Senator Sanders says that Canada is single payer, there are 35 million people in Canada. There are 330 million people in the United States. Easily the number of people on a public option. It could easily be 35 million. And for them, it would be Medicare for all, as Mayor Buttigieg says. But for others that want to keep it, they should be able to keep it. And I think that will be the fastest way to get where we need to go. Also, I will say, Bernie is a very honest person. He has said over and over again, unlike others that have supported this legislation, over and over again, that this will ban, making it illegal, all insurance except cosmetic, except insurance for, I guess that's for plastic surgery. Everything else is banned under the Medicare for All proposal that he has put forward. I'd let you go
a little longer there, but obviously, Senator Sanders, you get a response. Senator Sanders, you
just very briefly. You know, Mike, Medicare is the most popular health insurance program in the country. People don't like their private insurance companies. They like their doctors and hospitals. Under our plan, people go to any doctor they want, any hospital they want. We will substantially lower the cost of health care in this country because we'll stop the greed of the insurance companies.
On this issue, we have to think about how this affects real people. And the reality of how this affects real people is captured in a story that many of us heard, and I will paraphrase. There is, any night in America, a parent who's seeing that their child has a temperature that is out of control, calls 911, what should I do? And they say, take the child to the emergency room. And so they get in their car and they drive, and they're sitting in the parking lot outside of the emergency room looking at those sliding glass doors while they have the hand on the forehead of their child, knowing that if they walk through those sliding glass doors, even though they have insurance, they will be out a $5,000 deductible when they walk through those doors. That's what insurance companies are doing in America today.
Persuasive? Canada's, please.
One of those parents, I was just in the emergency room, and I'm telling
Congressman, thank you.
We fight health insurance companies every single week. We stand in line and pay expensive prescription drugs. We have to have a health care guarantee. If you're sick, you're seen, and in America, you never go broke because of it.
Okay. A lot of you have been talking tonight about these government health care plans that you've proposed in one form or another. This is a show of hands question, and hold them up for a moment so people can see. Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
Ooh. Oh, no!
Okay. Let me start with you, Mayor Buttigieg. Why?
What are you doing?
Mayor Buttigieg, why?
What the fuck?
Because our country is healthier when everybody is healthier. And remember, we're talking about something people are given a chance to buy into. In the same way that there are undocumented immigrants in my community who pay. They pay sales taxes. They pay property taxes directly or indirectly. This is not about a handout. This is an insurance program. And we do ourselves no favors by having 11 million undocumented people in our country be unable to access health care. But of course, the real problem is we shouldn't have 11 million undocumented people with no pathway to citizenship. It makes no sense. And the American people agree on what to do. This is the crazy thing. If leadership consists of forming a consensus around a divisive issue, this White House has divided us around a consensus issue. The American people want a pathway to citizenship. They want protections for dreamers. We need to clean up the lawful immigration system, like how my father immigrated to this country. And as part of a compromise, we can do whatever common sense measures are needed at the border. But Washington can't deliver on something the American people want. What does that tell you about the system we're living in? It tells you it needs profound structural reform.
Vice President Biden, I believe you said that your health care plan would not cover undocumented immigrants. Could you explain your position?
I'm sorry, I beg your pardon.
I believe at the show of hands you did not raise your hand.
Yeah, you did.
Did you raise your hand?
No, I did.
Okay, sorry.
But I'll take the question.
So you said they would be covered under your plan, which is different than Obamacare.
Yes, but here's the thing.
Can you explain that change?
Yes. You cannot let, as the mayor said, you cannot let people who are sick, no matter where they come from, no matter what their status, go uncovered. You can't do that. It's just going to be taken care of, period. You have to. It's a humane thing to do. But here's the deal. The deal is that he's right about three things. Number one, they, in fact, contribute to the well-being of the country, but they also, for example, they've increased the lifespan of Social Security because they have a job, they're paying a Social Security tax. That's what they're doing. It's increased the lifespan. They would do the same thing in terms of reducing the overall cost of health care by them being able to be treated and not wait till they're in extremis. The other thing is, folks, look, we can deal with these insurance companies. Yeah. We can deal with the insurance companies by, number one, putting insurance executives in jail for their misleading
Social Security.
They're misleading advertising, what they're doing on opioids, what they're doing
pay for their health care. You don't have a job or health care.
We could be doing this by making sure everyone who is on Medicare, that the government should be able to negotiate the price for whatever the drug costs are. We can do this by making sure that we're in a position
how are you going to be part of Medicare for all? It'd have to be a completely different system.
I just want to hold off a minute. We need to take a short break here. We got a lot more we need to talk about.
I mean, illegal immigrants not going to have a Medicare card,
We're just getting started. We'll be back with more from Miami right after this.
All right, I turned the volume down.
Okay.
We're synced up.
Oh my God, I can't believe that.
I know. One guy at the end didn't raise his hand, but it wasn't Biden.
Oh, he didn't? I thought everyone did.
One guy that didn't raise his hand. But I think he was the no color lip guy.
That's going to be the picture that they're going to blast on every right-wing online website tomorrow. Or tonight, actually.
All the hands.
All the hands up saying Medicare for illegal immigrants. Ugh.
Yeah, the incentives. Like our healthcare system's so messed up already, and so much of it is people without insurance. They're in the emergency room, and the fact that like there's no system for what things cost. Nobody that works in the healthcare system can tell you what anything costs. It's almost as if you get any kind of medical treatment, and then there's some after the fact, tussle over what you're actually going to pay for that medical treatment between your insurance company and the treatment care providers.
Right.
Which is just why, like, who developed this system where insurance companies and healthcare providers are going to haggle after the fact over how much money they can get for the procedure that you had 6 months ago.
Exactly.
Like, wow. Does that seem like a rational market system?
No, there just needs to be a set price.
Yeah, somebody needs to figure out how much this stuff costs. But I think some of the problem is, they have these government programs, so they end up taking a loss. I don't know if I think
there was no commercials. That was weird.
Yeah. Are they bringing out more questions?
Senator Harris.
I guess so.
Last month, more than 130,000 migrants were apprehended at the southern border. Many of them are being detained, including small children, in private detention centers in Florida and throughout our country. Most of the candidates on this stage say the conditions at these facilities are abhorrent. On January 20th, 2021, if you are president, what specifically would you do with the thousands of people who try to reach the United States every day and want a better life through asylum?
Immediately on January 20th of 2021, I will, first of all, we cannot forget our DACA recipients, and so I'm going to start there. I will immediately, by executive action, reinstate DACA status and DACA protection to those young people. I will further extend protection for deferral of deportation for their parents and for veterans who we have so many who are undocumented and have served our country and fought for our democracy.
How is that even possible?
I will also immediately put in place a meaningful process for reviewing the cases for asylum. I will release children from cages. I will get rid of the private detention centers. And I will ensure that this microphone that the President of the United States holds in her hand is used in a way that is about reflecting the values of our country.
She just said she's going to get rid of them.
And not about locking children up, separating them from their parents. And I have to just say that we have to think about this issue in terms of real people. A mother who pays a coyote to transport her child through their country of origin, through the entire country of Mexico, facing unknown peril, to come here. Why would that mother do that? I will tell you. Because she has decided for that child to remain where they are is
She came for the free health care. We already know.
Gave her the free med care.
He says, go back to where you came from. That is not reflective of our America and our values, and it's got to end.
Governor.
Yeah, but there's got to be some limit, though, right? I mean, come on.
I know, exactly.
Day one, if you are day one at the White House, how do you respond
with these children?
Let me get to you in just a second.
I'm sorry.
What's happening?
Day one, thousands.
She's like, oh, you're not looking at me.
Men, women, and children cross the border asking for asylum for a better life. What do you do? Day one, hour one.
Well, certainly the images we've seen this week just compound the emotional impact that the world is judging us by. If you'd ever told me any time in my life that this country would sanction federal agents to take children from the arms of their parents, put them in cages, actually put them up for adoption, in Colorado we call that kidnapping, I would have told you.
It does seem like the biggest political misstep of the Trump administration.
Did that happen?
The first thing we have to do is recognize the humanitarian crisis on the border for what it is. We make sure that there are the sufficient facilities in place.
They're separating their kids from their sex traffickers.
And children not separated from their families. The children are with their families.
I don't know what the numbers on that are.
We have to make sure that ICE is completely
reformed, because they don't know if they're their
and they begin looking at their job in a humanitarian way where they're addressing the whole needs of the people that they are engaged with along the border. And we have to make sure ultimately that we provide not just shelter, but food, clothing, and access to medical care.
Ms. Williamson.
Yes, what Donald Trump has done to these children, and it's not just in Colorado, Governor, you're right, it is kidnapping, and it's extremely important for us to realize that. If you forcibly take a child from their parents' arms, you are kidnapping them. And if you take a lot of children and you put them in a detainment center, thus inflicting chronic trauma upon them, that's called child abuse. This is collective child abuse. And when this is crime, both of those things are a crime. And if your government does it, that doesn't make it less of a crime. These are state-sponsored crimes.
Congressman.
And what President Trump has done is not only attack these children, not only demonize these immigrants, he is attacking a basic principle of America's moral core. We open our hearts to the stranger. This is extremely important. And it's also important for all of us to remember, and I have great respect for everyone who is on this stage, but we're going to talk about what to do about health care. Well, where have you been, guys?
I wore a tie.
Because if it's not just the matter of the plan, and I haven't heard anybody on this stage who has talked about American foreign policy in Latin America and how we might have in the
last leaning back. He's like, man, it's too cool to even be here.
Senator Gillibrand, what would you do as president with a reality?
Well, one of the worst things about President Trump that he's done to this country is he's torn apart the moral fabric of who we are.
Okay, she can give an actual answer.
When he started separating children at the border from their parents, the fact that 7 children have died in his custody, the fact that dozens of children have been separated from their parents and they have no plan to reunite them. So I would do a few things. First, I would fight for comprehensive immigration reform with a pathway to citizenship. Second, I would reform how we treat asylum seekers at the border. I would have a community-based treatment center where you're doing it within the communities, where asylum seekers are given lawyers, where there's real immigration judges, not employees of the Attorney General, but appointed for life, and have a community-based system. I would fund border security, but the worst thing President Trump has done is he's diverted the funds away from cross-border terrorism, cross-border human trafficking, drug trafficking, and gun trafficking, and he's given that money to the for-profit prisons. I would not be spending money in for-profit prisons to lock up children and asylum seekers.
We had a very spirited debate on this stage last night on the topic of decriminalization of the border. If you'd be so kind, raise your hand if you think it should be a civil offense rather than a crime to cross the border without documentation. Can we keep the hands up so we could see them?
Man.
And let's remember, that's not just a theoretical exercise. That criminalization, that is the basis for family separation.
So that was almost everyone,
that,
unlike last night.
It's no longer possible. Of course, it wouldn't be possible anyway in my presidency because it is dead wrong. We got to talk about one other thing, because the Republican Party likes to cloak itself in the language of religion. Now, our party doesn't talk about that as much, largely for a very good reason, which was we are committed to the separation of church and state, and we stand for people of any religion and people of no religion. But we should call out hypocrisy when we see it. And for a party that associates itself with Christianity, to say that it is okay to suggest that God would smile on the division of families at the hands of federal agents, that God would condone putting children in cages, has lost all claim to ever use religious language again.
Told the God card at him. Yep. Laying it down.
I don't know if you raised your hand or were just asking to speak. Look, would you decriminalize crossing the border without documents?
The first thing I would do
is
unite families. I'd surge
I want to know. I want to know just the facts.
Worth of
but
help
like all the articles are the New York Times,
Look,
Vox.
Talk about foreign policy.
Right.
I'm the guy that got a bipartisan agreement at the very end of the campaign, at the very end of our term, to spend $740 million to deal with the problem.
It's impossible to even know. It just makes me go
to the root cause of why people are leaving in the first place. It was working. We saw, as you know, a net decrease in the number of children who were coming. The crisis was abated. And along came this president. He said he immediately discontinued that. We all talk about these things. I did it. 740 million. Now look, second thing we have to do. The law now requires the reuniting of those families. We would reunite those families, period. And if not, we put those children in a circumstance where they were safe until we could find their parents. And lastly, the idea that he's in court with his Justice Department saying children in cages do not need a bed, do not need a blanket, do not need a toothbrush. That is outrageous.
Vice President, the Obama-Biden administration was...
Are you kidding me?
The Obama-Biden administration
Trump said it personally while he was eating the brains of immigrants.
Yeah, exactly.
My question to you is, if an individual is living in the United States of America without documents, and that is his only offense, should that person be deported?
No.
Depending if they committed a major crime. They should be deported. And the president was left in his... President Obama, I think, did a heck of a job. To compare him to what this guy's doing is absolutely, I find, close to immoral. But the fact is that, look, we should not be locking people up. We should be making sure we change the circumstance, as we did, why they would leave in the first place. And those who come seeking asylum, we should immediately have the capacity to absorb them, keep them safe until they can be heard.
A 15-second, if you could, if you wish to answer. Should someone who is here without documents, and that is his only offense, should that person be deported?
That person should not be the focus of deportation. We should fundamentally change the way we deal with them.
You like that little dodge?
Senator,
I
suggest that I agree with a lot of what Kamala just said. And that is, on day one, we take out our executive order pen and we rescind every damn thing on this issue that Trump has done. Number two, picking up on the point that Joe made, we got to look at the root causes. And you have a situation where Honduras, among other things, is a failing state, massive corruption. You got gangs who are telling families that if a 10-year-old does not join that gang, that family is going to be killed. What we have got to do on day one is invite the presidents and the leadership of Central America and Mexico together. This is a hemispheric problem that we have got to address.
Congressman Swalwell, what do you do?
Legalize drugs.
No. If someone is here without documents, and that is their only offense, is that person to be deported?
This guy wants open borders.
That person can be a part of this great American experience. That person can contribute. My congressional district is one of the most diverse in America, and we see the benefits when people contribute and they become a part of the community and they're not in the shadow economy. Day one for me, families are reunited. This president, though, for immigrants, there's nothing he will not do to separate a family cage a child or erase their existence by weaponizing the census. And there is nothing that we cannot do in the courts and that I will not do
offer them free health care. See how many we can pick up.
And to make sure that families
it's like a little
like
cage trap that says free health care like on a stick.
Yeah, exactly. Come get the health care.
I will say, no, absolutely not. They should not be deported. And I actually, this was one of the very few issues
so this is a problem
with which I
on Twitter, Brett Weinstein was like, well, was anyone actually advocating for open borders? And this MSNBC host is like getting all the candidates to basically
I was Attorney
say
General
that,
of California.
that they are.
I led the second largest Department of Justice in the United States, second only to the United States Department of Justice in a state of 40 million people. And on this issue, I disagreed with my president because the policy was to allow deportation of people who, by ICE's own definition, were non-criminals. So as Attorney General and the Chief Law Officer of the state of California, I issued a directive to the sheriffs of my state that they did not have to comply with detainers and instead should make decisions based on the best interest of public safety of their community. Because what I saw, and I was tracking it every day, I was tracking it and saw that parents, people who had not committed a crime, even by ICE's own definition, were being deported. But I have to add a point here. The problem with this kind of policy, and I know it as a prosecutor, I want a rape victim to be able to run in the middle of the street and wave down a police officer and report the crime against her. I want anybody who has been the victim of any real crime to be able to do that and not be afraid that if they do that, they will be deported because the abuser will tell them it is they who is the criminal. It is wrong. It is wrong.
We're going to turn to the issue of trade now, if we can. Last night, we asked the candidates on this stage to name the greatest geopolitical threat facing the U.S. 4 of them mentioned China.
Still there? I thought you
U.S. businesses say China steals our intellectual property, and party leaders on both sides accuse China of manipulating their currency to keep the cost of goods artificially low. I'll ask this to Senator Bennet to start off with. How would you stand up to China?
I think that, first of all, the biggest threat to our national security right now is Russia, not China. And second, on China, we've got competition because of what they've done with our election. In China, I think the president's been right to push back on China, but has done it in completely the wrong way. We should mobilize the entire rest of the world who all have a shared interest in pushing back on China's mercantilist trade policies, and I think we can do that. I'd like to answer the other question before this as well.
You have the time?
When I see these kids at the border, I see my mom because I know she sees herself, because she was separated from her parents for years during the Holocaust in Poland. And for Donald Trump to be doing what he's doing to children and their families at the borders. I say this as somebody who wrote the immigration bill in 2013 that created a pathway to citizenship for 11 million people in this country, that had the most progressive DREAM Act that's ever been conceived, much less passed. It got 68 votes in the Senate, that had $46 billion of border security in it, that was sophisticated 21st century border security, not a medieval wall. And the president has turned the border of the United States into a symbol of nativist hostility that the whole world is looking at, when what we should be represented by is the Statue of Liberty, which has brought my parents to this country to begin with. We need to make a change.
Mr. Yang, let me bring you in on this, on the issue of China. You've expressed a lot of concerns about technology and taking
bring the
jobs.
Asian guy in for China.
Yeah,
no,
racist
how would you stand up against?
Jeez, come on, Lester.
I just want to agree that I think Russia is our greatest geopolitical threat because they've been hacking our democracy successfully, and they've been laughing their asses off about it for the last couple of years. So we should focus on that before we start worrying about other threats.
The Asian guy doesn't want you to worry about China.
They do pirate our intellectual property. It's a massive problem. But the tariffs and the trade war are just punishing businesses and producers and workers on both sides. I met with a farmer in Iowa who said he spent 6 years building up a buying relationship in China that's now disappeared and gone forever. And the beneficiaries have not been American workers or people in China. It's been Southeast Asia and other producers that have then stepped into the void. So we need to crack down on Chinese malfeasance in the trade relationship, but the tariffs and the trade war are the wrong way to go.
All right, Mayor Buttigieg, how would you stand up against China?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we've got to recognize that the China challenge really is a serious one. This is not something to dismiss or wave away.
I agree.
And if you look at what China is doing,
but he's just...
they're using technology for the perfection of dictatorship. But their fundamental economic model isn't going to change because of some tariffs. I live in the industrial Midwest.
He's a little grumpy because he forgot his tie.
Folks who aren't in the shadow of a factory or somewhere near a soy field
totally
where I live. And manufacturers, and especially soy farmers, are hurting.
He's like, oh shit, we're supposed to wear ties to this
and Americans are going to pay on average $800 more
Man Faces World for $2 said Yang isn't wearing a tie because his brain is so big.
Soon be able to run circles around us in artificial intelligence. And this president is fixated on the China relationship as if all that mattered was the export balance.
In all his interviews, I don't know if he's used to giving these like short
issue on our hands, but at a moment when their authoritarian model is being held up as an alternative to ours because ours looks so chaotic compared to theirs right now because of our internal divisions. The biggest thing we've got to do is invest in our own domestic competitiveness. If we disinvest in our own infrastructure, education, we are never going to be able to compete. And if we really want to be an alternative, a democratic alternative, we actually have to demonstrate that we care about democratic values at home and around the world.
We've got a good debate so far. We're going to take a quick break here, candidates. When we come back, the questioning continues with our colleagues. Chuck Todd, Rachel Maddow will be here. Much more with our candidates straight ahead.
Oh, no, it's Rachel Maddow. Run!
How many Russia questions is she going to ask?
All of
them. Anyways, let's go through some super chats. We got Austin Daworsk for $2. Thank you very much, Austin. Writer John Buck for $2 says, "What you drinking, Adam? I'm not here."
Blood orange.
Blood? You're drinking blood orange?
Yeah.
Is that some like weird, like California ritual where you drink the blood of immigrant children or something?
It's delicious. There you go. There's product placement for the live stream.
Hallucinate for $5 says, 1,000 is greater than 500. People should take care of themselves before asking for health care. Yang should call his presidency the Yang Dynasty to end the era of Trump. I'm not sure. Yeah. I like it. It's a good meme, but I'm not sure you want to name your presidency after an emperor.
I think this may be the end of the Yang campaign. He's doing poorly. Yeah,
you think it's that bad?
Even me, the king of bias here, can't even bring myself to say Yang is killing it.
Like, look, he's doing.
Go ahead.
He's doing real bad, but I think he'll keep going. I think he can keep raising money.
Yeah, he's got a grassroots behind him, and maybe he'll learn something from this. I mean, thank God I don't know. It's probably not. Hopefully there won't be big numbers tonight.
I mean, if he can make it to the second debate and still fails, then yeah, I would say it's over. I'd say it's over then.
You
get two chances.
Why didn't he wear a tie? I'm just asking, just hypothetically.
Because he wanted to be different. Look, Steve Kornacki's still wearing his fucking barf-colored pants, okay? But Yang didn't want to wear a tie. He's going to be different.
Did he sleep in the same pants? I guess, maybe.
Is he wearing the same outfit? I don't know what tie he was wearing.
I don't know. Did they record? Is this like, this must be a commercial or something. Jeez. I was trying to get stats. I got some stats on how many kids are in custody. There's about 2,600 kids in custody, I guess.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot.
Yeah, some of them are separated from their parents because they don't, like, they're staying with family and loved ones. Their parents were deported, so they don't want to go back. Like, right, but, we don't want to be reunited.
How many? Well, here's my question. Okay, how many people total are at these detainment camps, and how many are kids separated at these detainment camps?
Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Those are the numbers I want.
2,600, it looks like.
Someone tweet me these numbers. Someone who's got the facts.
I'm on business.
I'm too lazy.
I'm on Business Insider, hoping just to get some unbiased perspective here. The top 3 Google search terms are like New York Times. Like the third one I think is BuzzFeed News, which I'm like, okay.
Well, it's funny if you Google search, when I Google search Project Veritas earlier before the stream, the top result was like the Verge article that's like Project Veritas is full of shit.
Really?
It's like the headline that pops up.
So children at the border, the top stories are Vox and BuzzFeed News. How
does Vox get top billing? Like, that's so absurd to me.
It is so absurd.
like New York Times, yeah, like they're very left leaning, but they're not Vox level left leaning. Like, come on.
Yeah. Second one is an opinion piece from the New York Times. U.S. border crisis, save the children. Most of them are from Guatemala and Honduras. Like, very few of them are actually Mexicans.
Yep. Manfi's World for $2 says, this is very personal to me. NPC politicians.
It's all very personal to me. Yeah. Yang is bombing. This is very personal to me.
This is personal to us. You had to sit through Tulsi. See, Tulsi did better than Yang's doing. I did not think that was going to happen. I was like, Yang's going to blow it out of the water.
Yang's opening salvo is, excuse me?
Continue the questioning. We want to bring in more members of our team.
So let's turn it over to Chuck Todd and Rachel Maddow.
Oh, Chuck Todd, Rachel Maddow. Two of the most
Rachel, I had a dream that we've done this before. No, didn't happen.
Okay, Rachel.
Thank you, Lester, Savannah, and Jose. Let's quickly recap the rules one more time. 20 candidates qualified for this first debate. We've heard from 10 of them from last night.
Let's recap the rules, you fuckers, because you keep trying to talk over each other.
Was selected at random. Candidates will have 60
I want to
seconds
know how Rachel Maddow got Woody Allen's glasses.
If necessary.
Because of this large field of candidates, not every person will be
Woody
able to comment
Allen
on everything.
His glasses,
but the less audience reaction there is, the more
what's his name used to have a show on MSNBC?
Over the course of the next hour, we will hear from all of these candidates, but we are going to begin this hour with Mayor Buttigieg. In the last 5 years, civil rights activists in our country have led a national debate over race and the criminal justice system. Your community of South Bend, Indiana, has recently been in uproar over an officer-involved shooting. The police force in South Bend is now 6% black in a city that is 26% black.
Didn't he goofed
this up?
Why has
that not improved over your 2 terms as mayor?
Because I couldn't get it done. My community is in anguish right now because of an officer-involved shooting. A black man, Eric Logan, killed by a white officer. And I'm not allowed to take sides until the investigation comes back. The officer said he was attacked with a knife, but he didn't have his body camera on. It's a mess, and we're hurting.
Gotta have your body camera on.
And I can walk you through all of the things that we have done as a community. What does it say? All of the steps that we took, from bias training to de-escalation, but it didn't save the life of Eric Logan. And when I look into his mother's eyes, I have to face the fact that nothing that I say will bring him back. This is an issue that is facing our community and so many communities around the country. And until we move policing out from the shadow of systemic racism, whatever this particular incident teaches us, we will be left with the bigger problem of the fact that there's a wall of mistrust put up one racist act at a time, not just from what's happened in the past, but from what's happening around the country in the present. It threatens the well-being of every community. And I am determined to bring about a day when a white person driving a vehicle and a black person driving a vehicle, when they see a police officer approaching, feels the exact same thing, a feeling not of fear, but of safety. I am determined to bring that day about.
Trump tweeted just for you, Rick. I think you should read it.
If I could ask one question.
I got lost in this amazing thread.
I think that the question they're asking in South Bend.
Trump tweeted, all Democrats just raised their hands for giving millions of illegal aliens unlimited health care.
Oh, my God.
How about taking care of American citizens first?
Oh,
that's the end of that race.
Christ.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
He just said, grab the picture. We want it everywhere tomorrow.
It's over. It's over, everyone. Pack it in.
I got to respond to that.
Pack it in.
Look, we've taken so many steps toward police accountability that the FOP just denounced me for too much accountability. God. We're obviously not there yet. And I accept responsibility for that because I'm in charge.
Policy, you should fire the chief.
So under Indiana law, this will be investigated, and there will be accountability for the officer involved.
But you're the mayor. You should fire the chief if that's the policy and someone died.
All of these issues are extremely important, but there are specifics, there are symptoms, and the underlying cause has to do with deep, deep, deep realms of racial injustice, both in our criminal justice system and in our economic system. And the Democratic Party should be on the side of reparations for slavery for this very reason. I do not I do not believe that the average American is a racist, but the average American is woefully undereducated about the history of race in the United States.
Ms. Williamson, thank you very much.
Vice President Biden, we're going to get to you. Hang on, we're going to get to
stage. I would like to speak on the issue of race.
Throwing around the race card.
And so what I would say is that I
Shut up,
agree.
Todd, you white boy.
Since we're going to come back to you on this again in just a moment. Go for 30 seconds.
Okay. So on the issue of race, I couldn't agree more.
She's like,
that this is an issue that is still not being talked about truthfully and honestly.
I know. That was fucking.
There is not a black man I know, be he
Big
a
Yoshi
relative,
right
a
there.
friend, or a coworker, who has not been the subject of some form of profiling or discrimination. Growing up, my sister and I had to deal with the neighbor who told us her parents couldn't play with us because we were black. And I will say also that in this campaign, we've also heard, and I'm going to now direct this at Vice President Biden, I do not believe you are a racist. And I agree with you when you commit yourself to the importance of finding common ground. But I also believe, and it's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country.
She went full SJW.
And it was not
I know
only
you're not
that,
racist, but your words were
you
hurtful.
also worked with them to oppose busing.
Think that you think you're a racist.
You know, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day.
Oh, my God.
And that little girl was me. So I will tell you that
you're not
on
racist,
this subject,
but you're totally fucking
it cannot
racist,
be an intellectual debate among Democrats. We have to take it seriously. We have to act swiftly.
So the neighbor
as Attorney General of California, I was very proud to put in place a requirement that all my special agents would wear body cameras and keep those cameras on.
It was 45 years ago. She's like 54.
Thank you. Vice President Biden, you have been invoked. We are going to give you.
Well, see, the neighbor didn't want to play with her because she was half Indian. It had nothing to do with her being half.
Neighbor didn't want to play with her. You're a bitch.
It's a mischaracterization of my position across the board. I did not praise racist. That is not true. Number one. Number two, if we want to have this campaign litigated and who supports civil rights and whether I did or not, I'm happy to do that. I was a public defender. I didn't become a prosecutor. I came out and I left a good law firm to become a public defender. When in fact,
just got caught in the...
When in fact my city was in flames because of the assassination of Dr. King. Number one. Number two, as the Vice President of the United States, I work with a man who, in fact, we worked very hard to see to it we dealt with these issues in a major, major way. The fact is that in terms of busing, the busing, you would have been able to go to school the same exact way because it was a local decision made by your city council. That's fine. That's one of the things I argued for, that we should be breaking down these lines. But so the bottom line here is,
I like that Joe Biden,
everything I've done in my
president
career, I ran because of civil rights. I continue to think we have to make fundamental changes in civil rights. And those civil rights, by the way, include not just only African Americans, but the LGBT community.
But Vice President Biden, do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America then?
No,
do you agree?
I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education. That's what I opposed.
Well, there was a failure of states to integrate public schools in America. I was part of the second class to integrate Berkeley, California public schools.
Don't you know the little picture,
the
Little Rock 5, the little black girl being led to school by the National Guard?
That
was Kamala Harris.
The federal government must step in. That's why we have the Voting Rights Act.
We're witnessing a purity spiral right here.
That's why we need to pass the Equality Act. That's why we need to pass the ERA, because there are moments in history where states fail to preserve the civil rights of all people.
I have supported the ERA from the very beginning when I ran for the
Got the fangs in deep.
I have supported the ERA from the very beginning. I'm the guy that extended the Voting Rights Act for 25 years. We got to the place where we got 98 out of 98 votes in the United States Senate doing it. I've also argued very strongly that we, in fact, deal with the notion of denying people access to the ballot box. I agree that everybody wants stay in fact. Anyway, my time's up. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Vice President.
What?
Senator Sanders, Senator Sanders, I want to go to you on this. You said on the day you launched your campaign that voters should focus on what people stand for, not a candidate's race or age or sexual orientation.
Yeah.
Many Democrats are very excited by the diversity of this field on this stage and on last night's stage.
No.
And the perspective that diversity brings to this contest and to these issues. Are you telling Democratic voters that diversity shouldn't matter when they make this decision?
Oh, my. Fuck you, Chuck Todd.
Absolutely not. Unlike the Republican Party, we encourage diversity. We believe in diversity. That's what America is about. But in addition to diversity, in terms of having more women, more people from the LGBT community, we also have to do something else. And that is, we have to ask ourselves a simple question. And that, how come today the worker in the middle of our economy is making no more money than he or she made 45 years ago, and that in the last 30 years, the top 1% has seen a $21 trillion increase in their wealth? We need a party that is diverse, but we need a party that has the guts to stand up to the powerful special interests who have so much power over the economic and political life of this country.
Senator Gillibrand, I want to give you 30 seconds on that.
Yeah,
well, first
Bernie.
of all, where Bernie left off. We've heard a lot of good ideas on this stage tonight and a lot of plans. But the truth is, until you go to the root of the corruption, the money in politics, the fact that Washington is run by the special interests, you're never going to solve any of these problems. I have the most comprehensive approach that experts agree is the most transformative plan to actually take on political corruption, to get money out of politics through publicly funded elections.
She has the worst charisma, though.
If we do that and get money out of politics, we can guarantee health care as a right, not a privilege. We can deal with institutional racism. We can take on income inequality, and we can take on the corporate corruption that runs Washington.
The first constitutional amendment to do that was introduced by me when I was a young senator.
Thank you, Vice President. We want to shift topics here. Senator Bennet, the next question is for you.
A woman with a
on the
pen
issue
in her
of partisan
hand looks
gridlock.
like a secretary to me.
President Obama promised in 2012 that after his re-election, Republicans would want to work with Democrats. People would break. That did not happen. Now, Vice President Biden is saying the same thing, that if he is elected in 2020, both parties will want to work together.
Anybody else has
Should
pens
voters
in their
believe that somehow if there's a
two
Democratic president in 2021,
both have pens in their hand,
that gridlock is going to magically disappear?
Gridlock will not magically disappear as long as Mitch McConnell is there, first. Second, that's why it is so important for us to win not just the presidency, to have somebody that can run in all 50 states, but to win the Senate as well. And that's why we have to propose policies that can be supported, like Medicare Act, so that we can build a broad coalition of Americans to overcome broken Washington, D.C. I agree with what Senator Gillibrand was saying. I share a lot of her views. We need to end gerrymandering in Washington. We need to end political gerrymandering in Washington.
Holy cow.
The court today said they couldn't do
I agree
anything
with
about
butthole
it.
lips.
We need to overturn Citizens United.
Some good things.
The court was the one that gave us Citizens United. And the attack on voting rights in Shelby versus Holder is something we need to deal with. All of those things has happened since Vice President Biden was in the Senate. And we face structural problems that we have to overcome with a broad coalition. It's the only way we can do it. We need to root out the corruption in Washington, expand people's right to get to the polls, and I think then we can succeed.
Vice President Biden, 30 seconds. It does sound as if you haven't seen what's been happening in the United States Senate over the last 12 years. It didn't happen. Why?
I have seen what happened. Just since we were vice president, we needed 3 votes to pass an $800 billion recovery act that kept us from going into depression. I got 3 votes changed. We needed to be able to keep the government from shutting down and going bankrupt. I got Mitch McConnell to raise taxes $600 billion by raising the top rate. And as recently as after President got elected, I was able to put together a coalition of the Cures Act that billions of dollars go into cancer research, bipartisan. But sometimes you can't do that. Sometimes you just have have to go out and beat them. I went into 20 states, over 60 candidates, and guess what? We beat them. We won back the Senate.
I don't think Sleepy Joe, he's a woke.
Go ahead, 30 seconds. Yeah, 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Sometimes you do have to beat him, but the deal that he talked about with Mitch McConnell was a complete victory for the Tea Party. It extended the Bush tax cuts permanently. The Democratic Party had been running against that for 10 years.
Joe forgot about
lost that economic argument because that deal extended almost all those Bush tax cuts permanently and put in place the mindless cuts that we still are dealing with today that are called the sequester. That was a great deal for Mitch McConnell. It was a terrible deal for America.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator Bennet. Go ahead, 30 seconds.
The reason why the Trump tax cut had to be passed is because they had to pay back their donors. You heard it. They actually said those words. So the corruption in Washington is real, and it is something that makes every one of the plans we've heard about over the last several months impossible.
I got a tax cut. I didn't donate to Trump. I don't know.
With clean elections, publicly funded elections. So we restore the power of our democracy into the hands of the voters, not into the Koch brothers. We were talking about issues. Imagine, we're in Florida, imagine the Parkland kids having as much power in our democracy as the Koch brothers or the NRA. Imagine their voices carrying farther and wider than anyone else because their voice is needed.
Senator Gillibrand, I'm trying to
Parkland kids having as much power as the Koch brothers.
Nothing else is possible,
that would be
whether
crazy.
It's education or healthcare or ending institutions.
Thank you very much. Sanders, I'd like to put a different question to you. Roe versus Wade has been the law of the land since 1973. Now that there is a conservative majority on the Supreme Court, several Republican-controlled states have passed laws to severely restrict or even ban abortion. One of those laws could very well make it to the Supreme Court during your presidency, if you're elected president. What is your plan if Roe is struck down in the court while you're president?
Well, my plan is somebody who believes, for a start, that a woman's right to control her own body is a constitutional right, that government and politicians should not infringe on that right. We will do everything we can to defend our Roe versus Wade. Second of all, let me make a promise here. You ask about litmus test. My litmus test is I will never nominate any justice to the Supreme Court unless that justice is 100% clear he or she will defend Roe v. Wade. Third of all,
I mean that's every Democrat.
I do not believe in packing the court. We got a terrible 5-4 majority conservative court right now. But I do believe that constitutionally we have the power to rotate judges to other courts. And that brings in new blood into the Supreme Court and a majority, I hope, that will understand that
what is he saying?
A woman has the right to control her own body and that corporations cannot run the United States of America.
What is he talking about? How do you rotate Supreme Court justices out?
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Overturned Roe, and Roe is gone. All of the things you just described would be to try to preserve Roe. If Roe is gone, what could you do as president to preserve abortion rights?
Well, first of all, let me tell you this. It didn't come up here, but let's face this. Medicare for all guarantees every woman in this country the right to have an abortion if she wants it.
Thank you, Senator.
And can I just address this for a second? And I want to talk directly to America's women and to the men who love them. Women's reproductive rights are under assault by President Trump and the Republican Party. 30 states are trying to overturn Roe v. Wade right now. And it is mind-boggling to me that we are debating this on this stage in 2019 among Democrats, whether women should have access to reproductive rights. I think we have to stop playing defense and start playing offense. But let me tell you one thing about politics, because it goes to the corruption and the deal-making. When the door is closed and the negotiations are made, there are conversations about women's rights, and compromises have been made on our backs. That's how we got to Hyde. That's how the Hyde Amendment was created, a compromise by leaders of both parties. Then we have the ACA.
Someone in the chat
During
said,
the ACA
lower the Supreme Court justice
I had to fight
age range
heck
to 12.
with other women to make sure that contraception wasn't sold down the river or abortion services.
And
so
justices at 12.
What we need to know is, imagine this one question.
Justices.
When we beat President Trump, and Mitch McConnell walks into the Oval Office, God forbid, to do negotiations, who do you want when that door closes to be sitting behind that desk to fight for women's rights? I have been the fiercest advocate for women's reproductive freedom for over a decade. And I promise you, as president, when that door closes, I will guarantee women's reproductive freedom no matter what.
Thank you. We're moving to climate. We're moving to climate, guys. Senator Harris, I'm addressing you first on this. You live in a state that has been hit by drought,
he was a candidate.
wildfires, flooding.
Yeah, one time.
Climate change is a major concern for voters in your state. It's pretty obvious.
Last night he was doing
in
great.
The state as well. Last night, voters heard many of the candidates weigh in on their proposals.
I wonder if he's tweeting.
Explain
Let's
specifically
check out.
what yours is.
Well, first of all, I don't even call it climate change. It's a climate crisis. It represents an existential threat to us as a species.
Someone's live tweeting
and
while they were
debating. And the fact that we have a president of the United States who has embraced science fiction over science fact will be to our collective peril. I visited, while the embers were smoldering, the wildfires in California. I spoke with firefighters who were in the midst of fighting a fire while their own homes were burning. And on this issue, it is a critical issue that is about what we must do to confront what is immediate and before us right now. That is why I support a Green New Deal. It is why I believe on day one, and as president, will re-enter us in the Paris Agreement, because we have to take these issues seriously. And frankly, we have a president of the United States. We talked about, you asked before, what is the greatest national security threat to the United States? It's Donald Trump. And I'm going to tell you why. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I agree, climate change represents an existential threat. He denies the science. You want to talk about North Korea, real threat in terms of nuclear arsenal, but what does he do? He embraces Kim Jong-un, a dictator for the sake of a photo op. Putin, you want to talk about
Senator
Russia?
Harris, we're going to
he takes the word of the Russian president over the word of the American intelligence community when it comes to a threat to our democracy and our elections.
Thank you, Senator Harris.
These are the issues that are before us, Chuck.
I hear you. Thank you, Senator Harris. Mayor Buttigieg. In your climate plan, if you're elected president in your first term, how is this going to help farmers impacted by climate change?
I told him he's running out of time.
Well, the reality is we need to begin adapting right away, but we also can't skip a beat on preventing climate change from getting even worse. It's why we need aggressive and ambitious measures. It's why we need to do a carbon tax and dividend. But I would propose we do it in a way that is rebated out to the American people.
Ask about the
in a
cow
progressive
farts.
fashion so that most Americans are made more than whole. This isn't theoretical for us in South Bend either. Parts of California on fire. Right here in Florida, they're talking about sea level rise. Well, in Indiana, I had to activate the emergency operations center of our city twice in less than 2 years. First time was a 1,000-year flood, and the next time was a 500-year flood. This is not just happening on the Arctic ice caps. This is happening in the middle of the country, and we've got to be dramatically more aggressive moving forward. Now, here's what very few people talk about.
Windows.
First of all, rural America
to
be part of the solution instead of being told they're part of the problem. With the right kind of soil management and other kind of investments, rural America could be a huge part of how we get this done.
Come on.
And secondly, we got to look to the leadership of local communities.
Make soil
networks of mayors and cities from around the world who have come together, not even waiting for our national governments to catch up. We should have a Pittsburgh summit where we bring them together as well as rejoining the Paris.
Thank you, Mayor Buttigieg.
I want to bring Governor Hickenlooper into this for a moment. Governor,
I want to not
you
bring
have said
Andrew
that
Yang
oil
into
and
this.
gas companies should be a part of the solution on climate change. Lots of your colleagues on stage tonight have talked about moving away from fossil fuels entirely.
They've asked that
Can
guy like
oil and
7
gas
questions.
companies
Yang
be
has got
real
2.
partners in this fight?
Well, I share the sense of urgency. I'm a scientist, so I recognize that we're within 10 or 12 years of actually suffering irreversible damage. But guaranteeing everybody a government job is not going to get us there. Socialism, in that sense, is not the solution. We have to look at what really will make a difference. In Colorado, we're closing a couple of coal plants.
He's a real
scientist. With wind, solar, and batteries, and the monthly bills go down. We've gone on. We're building a network for electric vehicles. We are working with the oil and gas industry, and we created the first methane regulations in the country. Methane is 25 times worse than CO2. And then we've got to get to that last part. I mean, the industrial, heavy industry, we haven't seen the plans yet. If you look at the real problem, CO2, the worst polluters in CO2 is China, is the United States, and then it's concrete and it's exhalation. And beyond that, I think we've got to recognize that only by bringing people together, businesses, nonprofits, and we can't demonize every business. We've got to bring them together to be part of this thing, because ultimately, if we're not able to do that, we will be doomed to failure. We have no way of doing this without bringing everyone together.
Thank you. Vice President Biden, on the issue of how you do this, Democrats are arguing robustly among themselves about what's the best way to tackle climate change. But if we're honest, many Republicans, including the president, are still not sure if they believe it is even a serious problem. So, are there significant ways you can cut carbon emissions if you have to do it with no support from Congress?
The answer is yes. Number one, in our administration, we built the largest wind farm in the world, the largest solar energy facility in the world. We drove down the price, competitive price of both of those renewable sources. I would immediately insist that we, in fact, build 500,000 recharging stations throughout the United States of America, working with governors, mayors, and others, so that we can go to a full electric vehicle future by the year 2020, or by the year 2030. I would make sure that we invested $400 million in new science and technology to be the exporter, not only of the green economy, but economy that can create millions of jobs. But I would immediately join the Paris climate accord.
Look at Bernie.
I would
like
up the ante in that accord, which it calls for, because we make up 15% of the problem. 85% of the world makes up the rest. And so we have to have someone who knows how to corral the rest of the world, bring them together, and get something done like we did in our administration.
Senator Sanders, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to follow up, and I'm going to hold you to 30.
The old ways are no longer relevant.
Climate change.
The scientists tell us we have 12 years before there is irreparable damage to this planet. This is a global issue. What the President of the United States should do is not deny the reality of climate change, but tell the rest of the world that instead of spending $1.5 trillion on weapons of destruction, let us get together for the common enemy, and that is to transform the world's energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy.
Nuclear.
The future of the planet rests on us doing this.
Nuclear.
Before we go, hang on.
Before we leave this topic.
Here's the solution. Pass the torch. Pass the torch to the generation that's going to feel the effects of climate change. Pass the torch to the generation that's invented enough.
Thank you both.
Before we leave this topic, here's something you will all
Here's the solution.
Hold on.
Fuck off, this old man.
Hold one moment.
Just trust us on this.
That somebody has a younger body doesn't mean you don't have old ideas.
No, we can do it.
John Kennedy John Kennedy did not say, I have a plan to get a man to the moon, and so we're going to do it, and I think we can all work together, and maybe we can get a man on the moon. John Kennedy said, by the end of this decade, we are going to put a man on the moon. Because John Kennedy was back in the day when politics included the people, and included imagination, and included great dreams, and included great plans. And I have had a career not making the political plans, but I have had a career harnessing the inspiration and the motivation and the excitement of people, masses of people, when we know that when we say we are going to turn from a dirty economy to a clean economy, we're going to have a Green New Deal. We're going to create millions of jobs. We're going to do this within the next 12 years because I'm not interested in just winning the next election. We are interested in our grandchildren.
All right, we got to sneak. We're going to sneak in a break in a minute, but before we go,
she did it without a pen.
I'm going to go down the line here. I'm asking you, please, for one or two words only. All right, please.
Really?
President Obama in his first year wanted to address both health care and climate, and he could only get one signature issue accomplished. It was obviously health care. He didn't get to do climate change. You may only get one shot, and your first issue that you're going to push, you get one shot, that it may be the only thing you get passed. What is that first issue for your presidency? Eric Swalwell, your
wage gap.
For Parkland, for Orlando, for every community affected by gun violence, ending gun violence.
Senator Bennet.
He's out.
Yep. Wrong.
Climate change and the lack of economic mobility Bernie talks about.
That's two things.
passing a family bill of rights that includes a national paid leave plan, universal pre-K, affordable daycare, and making sure that women and families can thrive in the workplace no matter who they are.
Oh, I like that.
was pretty good. Senator Harris.
Then. So passing a middle class and working families tax cut, DACA, guns.
Okay. I'm giving you credit for the first thing you said, the tax cut. I got you. Senator Sanders, first thing.
The premise that there's only one or two issues out there.
Oh, I'm not saying he's a rebel.
Enormous crises.
Senator Sanders.
A political revolution. People have got to stand up and take on the special interest. We can transform this country.
Vice President Biden, your first issue, Mr. Vice President.
I think you're so underestimating what Barack Obama did. He's the first man to bring together the entire world, 196 nations, to commit to deal with climate change.
You want a Nobel Peace Prize?
So I don't buy it.
I forgot about that.
The first thing I would do is make sure that we defeat Donald Trump.
Okay.
Period.
What? Oh my God! He doesn't even understand the
first issue as president that you were going to block and tackle.
We've got to fix our democracy before it's too late. Get that right. Climate, immigration, taxes, and every other issue.
No one cares about the climate change.
Mr. Yang.
Money
I would
first.
pass a $1,000 freedom dividend for every American adult starting at age 18, which would speed us up on climate change, because if you get the boot off of people's throats, they'll focus on climate change much more clearly.
Governor Hickenlooper.
Yeah. I would do a collaborative approach to climate change, and I would pronounce it well before the election to make sure we don't re-elect the worst president in American history.
The only guy.
And Ms. Williamson.
My first call is to Prime Minister of New Zealand, who said that her goal is to make New Zealand the place where it's the best place in the world for a child to grow up. And I will tell her girlfriend you are so on, because the United States of America is going to be the best place in the world for a child to grow up.
Ms. Williamson,
we are going to have.
You guys were close New Zealand the middle finger.
At least it was shorter responses.
not at all.
All right.
She lost
C-.
Done.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with these candidates right after this.
First thing I do as president is tell New Zealand to fuck off.
I know, exactly. Who cares about New Zealand? Jeez, you're going to... Nice. I'm so glad we elected this crazy lady. Now New Zealand... Well, I'm voting for her just to stick it to New Zealand.
I mean, if she said Australia, then I'd be like, yeah, fuck Felix.
Yeah, exactly. We don't even know anyone in New Zealand.
What a fucking weird answer.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
So this doesn't speak too good to their pronouncements of climate change being this great doom and gloom. If Chuck Todd asked them, what's the one most important thing?
Yeah, there's like 7 things that they're going to do.
None of them are climate change.
Yeah. Climate change is low on the list because, man, what Scott Adams did at the beginning of the year made a huge impression on me. Well, I had already seen Boren Lumberg's. The name of his documentary is Cool It. And he goes into all these practical and really inexpensive ways to deal with climate change that you're going, hey, why aren't we just doing that stuff? It seems like it's pretty easy to deal with. And ever since that, I never lost sleep over climate change. And the more they use it as a campaign tool, it seems like they're using it for their own political gain over it being really the dire thing they make it out to be.
He's kind of backed off, though, it feels like. It feels like he's kind of changed his position. Now he doesn't talk about whether it's true or not. He just says, well, we just need to do nuclear energy.
Lumbergh?
No, Scott Adams.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's saying nuclear energy is obviously the thing, obviously the future.
Yeah, but so do you think Scott Adams is starting to believe climate change and he just doesn't want to admit it?
Climate change is real. I don't want anyone to think that I don't believe in climate change. My understanding of climate change is that we have technologies available to deal with it. I talked about one on a live stream recently. Like we could do a simulated volcanic explosion.
Well, these are all theoretical, though.
Well, we have the research from. No, I mean,
like no one knows what's going to happen. Like if they're really going to work or not.
We're going to spray artificial clouds. Like right now, they have the data from. I told you when September 11th happened, all the air traffic was eliminated over the United States. So we have air traffic in the United States laying down a blanket of artificial clouds. We could increase that. We have a lot of variability on our ability to increase or decrease that.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to take the Futurama approach, basically, where we just put a giant ice cube in the ocean. Is what you're saying.
Yeah, we could do that. The artificial clouds. Imagine if we have to set up a system where we are required to put enough air traffic in the air to do these artificial clouds. So you're required to fly regularly. Everyone must take.
Well, I mean, come on, they would have special planes designed just for
this free air travel.
No. That would be interesting.
Free trips to Hawaii. Yeah.
Actually, that would be really fascinating if they could have regular planes do this, create clouds or whatever without affecting the plane whatsoever. Would the government like subsidize air travel?
It's amazing how incentives work. Remember when the oil was spiking up to like $150, $200 a barrel, and all the airplanes added that little lip onto the end of the wings, which, I mean, I've read that dramatically increases their fuel efficiency.
Really?
Like, that's why that little lip came out. It was like, we saved 13% on fuel costs. Like, we add this little lip onto the end of the airplane. Yeah, it totally stabilizes the plane, gets better fuel efficiency. Yeah, that's incentives. That's the power of incentives. They're like, oil's cheap, we don't need the lip. Oh no, oil's $200 a barrel, get the lip out.
We're back.
From Lester in the audience, but that was just
They're having more technical difficulties.
Oh yeah.
Let's go. We're going to go to the issue of guns and
Congressman Swalwell. Among this field of candidates, you have a unique position on gun reform. You're proposing that the government should buy back every assault weapon in America, and it should be mandatory. How do you envision that working, especially in states where gun rights are a strong flashpoint?
Per assault.
Keep your pistols, keep your rifles, keep your shotguns, but we can take the most dangerous weapons from the most dangerous people. We have the NRA on the ropes because of the moms, because of the Brady Group, because of Giffords, because of March for Our Lives. But I'm the only candidate on this stage calling for a ban and buyback of every single assault weapon in America. I've seen the plans of the other candidates here. They would all leave 15 million assault weapons in our communities. They wouldn't do a single thing to save a single life in Parkland. I'll approach this issue as a prosecutor. I'll approach it as the only person on this stage who has voted and passed background checks, but also
I do think
as a parent
weapons ban
of a
is a total
generation
red
who
herring
sends our children to school where we look at what they're wearing.
You don't want to ban weapons?
So we can remember it in case we have to identify them later.
I don't think most people that are killed by guns are not killed by assault weapons.
Thousands of black children killed in our streets, and a generation who goes to the theater and we actually look where the fire exits are.
It's just the mass shooter stuff. I mean, you can still have mass shooters without assault. Did the Columbine kids have assault weapons, or did they just have?
No, they didn't.
Senator Sanders, a Vermont newspaper recently released portions of an interview you gave in 2013 in which you said, quote, "My own view on guns is, everything being equal, states should make those decisions."
No.
Has your thinking changed since then? Do you now think there's a federal role to play?
That's a mischaracterization of my thinking.
It's a
Look,
quote of
we
you.
have a gun crisis
Rachel,
right
it's
now.
A quote,
40,000 people a year are getting killed. In 1988, Rachel, when it wasn't popular, I ran on a platform of banning assault weapons, and in fact lost that race for Congress. I have a D- voting record from the NRA. And I believe that what we need is comprehensive gun legislation that, among other things, provides universal background. We end the gun show loophole. We end the straw man provision. And I believed in 1988, and I believe today.
Why would you
that
leave
assault weapons are weapons from the military, and that they should not be on the streets of America.
You would leave your plan leaves them on the streets. You leave 15 million on the streets.
We banned the sale and we banned the sale and distribution, and that's what I believe for many years.
Will you buy them back?
If people want to buy, if the government wants to do that, and people want
you're going to be the government, will you buy them back?
Senator Harris, we're going to give you 30 seconds.
Thank you. I think your idea is a great one, Congressman
Assault weapon
Swalwell,
is like a very nebulous categorization.
Yeah, but I mean, I've
shot
shot
one. The courage to act, which is why when elected president of the United States,
but I can't remember what it's
I will
called.
give the United States Congress 100 days to pull their act together, bring all these good ideas together, and put a bill on my desk for signature. And if they do not, I will take executive action, and I will put in place the most comprehensive background check policy we've had. I will require the ATF to take the licenses of gun dealers who violate the law, and I will ban by executive order the importation of assault weapons. Because I'm going to tell you, as a prosecutor, I have seen more autopsy photographs than I care to tell you. I have hugged more mothers who are the mothers of homicide victims, and I have attended more police officer funerals. It is enough. It is enough. There have been plenty of good ideas from members of the United States Congress. There's been no action. As president, I will take action.
Mayor Buttigieg, I want to bring you in on this, sir. A lot of discussion about assault rifles that are often shorthanded as military-style weapons. You are the only person on this stage tonight with military experience.
Has Yang ever talked about guns?
Will military families, does that inform your thinking on this view? Do you believe that military families or America's veterans will, at large, have a different take on this than the other Americans who we've been talking about and who Congressman Swalwell is appealing to with his buyback program?
Yeah, of course, because we trained on some of these kinds of weapons. Look, every part of my life experience informs this. Being the mayor of a city where the worst part of the job is dealing with violence, we lose as many as were lost at Parkland every 2 or 3 years in my city alone. And this is tearing communities apart. If more guns made us safer, we'd be the safest country on earth. It doesn't work that way. And common sense measures like universal background checks can't seem to get delivered by Washington, even when most Republicans, let alone most Americans, agree it's the right thing to do. And as somebody who trained on weapons of war, I can tell you that there are weapons that have absolutely no place in American cities or neighborhoods in peacetime, ever.
Vice President Biden, 30 seconds.
A real 30 seconds?
A real 30 seconds.
Okay. I'm the only person that's beaten the NRA nationally. I'm the guy that got the Brady bill passed, the background checks, number one. Number two, we increased that background check during the Obama-Biden administration. I'm also the only guy that got assault weapons banned, and the number of clips in a gun banned. And so, folks, look, and I would buy back those weapons. We already started talking about that. We tried to get it done. I think it can be done, and it should be demanded that we do it, and that's a good expenditure of money. And lastly, we should have smart guns. No gun should be able to be sold unless your biometric measure could pull that trigger. It's within our right to do that. We can do that. Our enemy is the gun manufacturers, not the NRA. The gun manufacturers.
Vice President. But the NRA is taking orders from the gun manufacturers.
Lester Holt has our next question. Lester, take it away.
All right, Chuck, this is a question from our viewers. We put some suggestions that ask maybe they could share some. Here's one that came from Kathleen from Canby, Oregon, who writes, many fear the current administration has inflicted irrevocable harm on our governing institutions and norms, and in the process, on our reputation abroad. The question is, what do you see as important early steps in reversing the damage done? And we'll put this one to Senator Bennet.
Thank you very much. What an excellent question. First of all, we have to restore our democracy at home. The rest of the world is looking for us for leadership. We have a president who doesn't believe in the rule of law. He doesn't believe in freedom of the press. He doesn't believe in independent judiciary.
Would you be mad if you send a question and they actually read it, but it goes to like a candidate you don't care about?
And that is what we have to change, and that's why everybody is up here tonight, and I appreciate the fact that they're up here for that reason. Second, we've got to restore the relationships that he's destroyed with our allies, not just in Europe. He flew to the G20 last night and attacked Japan, Germany, and a third ally of ours without saying anything about North Korea or Russia. And when you've got a situation where you have a president who says something happened in the Straits of Hormuz and the whole world doesn't know whether to believe it or not, that is a huge problem when it comes to the national security of the United States of America.
This is a perfect time.
Need to change that.
Thank you, Senator Bennet. This is a perfect time for me to do another one of these down the line. And this is what this question is, which is you're likely going to have to reset a relationship between America and another country or entity if you become president perhaps because of some relationship that you just mentioned about President Trump. What is the first relationship you like to reset as president? I'm going to go down the line, and I'll start with Ms. Williamson.
Well, one of my first phone calls would be to call the European leaders and say, we're back. Because I totally understand how important it is that the United States be part of the Western alliance.
I'm trying to get one or two words here. I hear you. Governor Hickenlooper.
You know, I talk about constant engagement, and I think the first country I would go to, and I understand they've been cheating and stealing intellectual property, would be China, because if we're going to deal with public health pandemics, if we're going to deal with all the challenges of the globe, we've got to have relationships with everyone.
Mr. Yang, we're trying to squeeze in a couple more things before we go to another break. Mr. Yang.
China, we need to cooperate with them on climate change, AI, and other issues. North Korea.
Thanks for the quickness. Mayor Buttigieg.
We have no idea which of our most important allies he will have pissed off worse between now and then. What we know is that our relationship with the entire world needs to change. And it starts by modeling American values at home.
Okay, Mr. Vice President, I'm trying to be quick.
We know NATO will fall apart if he's elected 4 more years as the single most consequential alliance in the history of the United States.
That's nobody.
It's not one country. I think it is rebuilding trust in the United Nations and understand that we can solve conflicts without war, but with diplomacy.
Senator Harris.
Yeah.
All the members of the NATO alliance.
All the members, everyone.
President Trump is hell-bent on starting a war with Iran. My first act will be to engage Iran to stabilize the Middle East and make sure we do not start an unwanted, never-ending war.
Senator Bennet,
she did it with a
pen. Our European allies in every Latin American country that's willing to have a conversation about how to deal with the refugee crisis.
My first act in foreign policy, we're breaking up with Russia and making up with NATO.
Thank you all. Thank you all. We have one last question for Vice President Biden tonight. You have made your decades of experience in foreign policy a pillar of your campaign. But when the time came to say yes or no on one of the most consequential foreign policy decisions of the last century, you voted for the Iraq war. You have since said you regret that vote. But why should voters trust your judgment when it comes to making a decision about taking the country to war?
That's why Hillary lost the primary to Obama.
Once Bush abused that power, what happened was we got elected.
Kamala Harris has accused you of racism.
President
Do you in fact think that you are a racist? Troops out of Iraq.
I was responsible for getting 150,000 combat troops out of Iraq, and my son was one of them. I also think we should not have combat troops.
Mr. Joe Biden, how many black children did you run over with a bus?
It should end.
And the year 1960.
I believe that you're not going to find anybody who has pulled together more of alliances to deal with what is the real stateless threat out there. We cannot go it alone in terms of dealing with terrorism. So I'd eliminate the act that allowed us to go into war and not the AUMF, and make sure that it could only be used for what its intent was, and that is to go after terrorists, but never do it alone. That's why we have to repair our alliances. We put together 65 countries to make sure we dealt with ISIS in Iraq and other places. That's what I would do. That's what I have done, and I know how to do it.
Senator Sanders, 30 seconds.
One of the differences that Joe and I have in our record is Joe voted for that war. I helped lead the opposition to that war, which is a total disaster. Second of all, I helped lead the effort for the first time to utilize the War Powers Act to get the United States out of the Saudi-led intervention in Yemen, which is the most horrific humanitarian disaster on earth. And thirdly, let me be very clear. I will do everything I can to prevent a war with Iran, which would be far worse than disastrous war with Iraq.
Senator Sanders, thank you.
All right, guys. Informed consent of the American people.
Good news is you get more time to talk, but I have to sneak in one more break. We will be right back with more debate.
Okay, let's blab. Read some super chats.
Super chats, guys. Taylor Ramirez for $2 says, a cluster frick of finger wagging. There's a lot of finger wagging. That's true. You know, it's interesting. I never noticed Bernie Sanders, the way that he does his hand motions. It's like he's conducting. Like you notice that?
Oh yeah, he does the finger thing. He does the little thing with his hand.
Yeah, he starts from like the center of his body and he moves outward.
He has a pretend magic wand.
He's casting a spell. Casting a spell against socialism. Joshua Cornelius for $10 says, speak Spanish, Uncle Joe. I don't think Uncle Joe's going to speak Spanish.
No, he's not.
We got a little taste of it from Petey.
Yeah.
He's not. Is Petey Latino?
Petey. I like how you're already
Petey. That's like, see, there you go.
Him.
There's Trump. There's your Trump should pay me. That's the nickname for Pete Buttigieg. Petey. He looks like a little kid. Just call him Petey B. Petey B.
Bernie has a nickname, and Sleepy Joe has a nickname.
He's crazy. Isn't he Crazy Bernie?
Crazy Bernie and Sleepy Joe.
Yeah. Sleepy Joe, I disagree 100% with Scott. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Joe Biden, he's like full of energy. Look, he was yelling at people, fighting at people.
I like Sleepy Joe.
But he doesn't seem sleepy like at all.
It's fun to say though.
I mean, it is funny because it evokes an image of Joe Biden with like he's wearing like the long striped
he's doing
blue
this thing with his eyes. He's like, "Oh, I'm so tired."
He's got like the blue pajama hat on with like the little like puff ball at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I can see it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. It is funny though, but it doesn't make sense. Contrast for 2 Aussie bucks says, "When does Andrew Yang start speaking Mandarin?" There we go.
Soon, I hope. Jeez.
Soon, I hope. Yeah, maybe he'll get some press in there. Taylor Ramirez for another $2 says Trump is a beacon of Christianity. LOL.
Yeah, not so much.
Donald Trump is the most Christian president this country has ever had.
That must have been when Buttigieg was going off about they're not very Christian.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. Yes. Taylor Ramirez for another $5 says, deported more than 3 million Americans. You can't deport Americans.
Deport?
Oh, someone must have said that they deported more than 3 million Americans. I see. That makes sense.
Must be abortion. They're back.
They deported 3 million abortions. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think there's like 3 million abortions, but not 3 million.
Can't be a forward-looking party if we look to the past for our leadership.
It's back on.
I'm a congressman, but also a father of a 2-year-old and an infant. When I'm not changing diapers, I'm changing Washington.
Oh my!
My God!
This isn't a commercial. What are you talking about?
I went to Congress at 31, and I found a Washington that doesn't work for people like you and me.
Don't
it's made of the rich and the disconnected.
Presidents
I was the first in my family to go to college and have student loan debt. And so I have led the effort to elect the next generation of members of Congress. And we have a moment to seize. This is a can-do generation. This is the generation that will end climate chaos. This is the generation that will solve student loan debt. And this is the generation that will say enough is enough and end gun violence. This generation demands bold solutions. That's why I'm running for president.
Congressman, thank you.
This guy in your district?
I'm sorry we haven't talked more tonight about how we're going to beat Donald Trump. I have an idea about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not going to be beaten just by insider politics talk. He's not going to be beaten just by somebody who has plans. He's going to be beaten by somebody who has an idea what this man has done. This man has reached into the psyche of the American people, and he has harnessed fear for political purposes. So, Mr. President, if you're listening, I want you to hear me, please. You have harnessed fear for political purposes, and only love can cast that out. So sir, I have a feeling you know what you're doing. I'm going to harness love for political purposes. I will meet you on that field.
She's an anime character.
She's
a magical girl anime character.
She wants to meet him on the field. She's
gonna fight Donald Trump with love.
Rendezvous. Came to the United States to rebuild their shattered lives.
I love her.
In the only country that they could. 300 years before that, my parents' family came searching religious freedom here. The ability for one generation to do better than the next is now severely at risk in the United States, especially among children living in poverty like the ones I used to work for in the Denver public schools. That's why I'm running for president. I've had 2 tough races in Colorado by bringing people together, not by making empty promises. And I believe we need to build a broad coalition of Americans to beat Donald Trump, end the corruption in Washington, and build a new era of American democracy and American opportunity. This is going to be hard to do, but it's what our parents would have expected. It's what our kids deserve. I hope you'll join me in this effort. Thank you.
Thank you.
Governor Hickenlooper.
I'm a small business owner who brought that same scrappy spirit to make Colorado one of the most progressive states in America. We expanded reproductive health
to to reduce
teenage abortion by 64%. We were the first state to legalize marijuana, and we transformed our justice system in the process. We passed universal background checks in a purple state. We got to near universal health care coverage. We attacked climate change with the toughest methane regulations in the country, and for the last 3 years, we've been the #1 economy in America. You don't need big government to do big things. I know that because I'm the one person up here who's actually done the big progressive things everyone else is talking about. If we turn towards socialism, we run the risk of helping to re-elect the worst president in American history.
$1,000 to every
Thank you, Governor.
Senator Gillibrand, you have the floor for 45 seconds.
Women in America are on fire. We've marched,
Oh,
we've
no,
organized, we've run for office, and we've won. But our rights are under attack like never before by President Trump and the Republicans who want to repeal Roe v. Wade,
women's rights.
which is why I went to the front lines in Georgia to fight for them. As president, I will take on the fights that no one else will. I stood up to the Pentagon and repealed Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I've stood up to the banks and voted against the bailout twice. I've stood up to Trump more than any other senator in the U.S. Senate. And I have the most comprehensive approach for getting money out of politics with publicly funded elections
None of this
to
has
deal
anything to do
with
with
political
women.
corruption.
Why'd you open with that?
Now is not the time to play it safe. Now is not the time to be afraid of first. We need a president who will take on the big challenges, even if she stands alone. Join me in fighting for this.
Senator Gillibrand, thank you.
I'm with her.
You have 45 seconds for your closing.
First, I want to thank everyone who put me on this stage tonight. I am proof that our democracy still works. Democrats and Americans around the country have one question for their nominee, and that is who can beat Donald Trump in 2020? That is the right question. And the right candidate to beat Donald Trump will be solving the problems that got Donald Trump elected and will have a vision of a trickle-up economy that is already drawing thousands of disaffected Trump voters, conservatives, independents, and libertarians, as well as Democrats and progressives. I am that candidate. I can build a much broader coalition to beat Donald Trump. It is not left. It is not right. It is forward. And that is where I'll take the country in 2020.
Mr. Yang, thank you.
Senator Harris. Senator Harris, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, I just want to leave you with a couple of things. One, we need a nominee who has the ability to prosecute the case against 4 more years of Donald Trump, and I will do that. Second, this election is about you. This is about your hopes and your dreams and your fears and what wakes you up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And that's why I have what I call a 3 a.m. agenda. That is about everything from what we need to do to deliver health care to how you will be able to pay the bills by the end of the month. And when I think about what our country needs, I promise you, I will be a president who leads with a sense of dignity, with honesty, speaking the truth, and giving the American family all that they need to get through the end of the month in a way that allows them to prosper. So I hope to earn your support. Please join us at KamalaHarris.org.
Senator, thank you.
Mayor Buttigieg.
We'll plug that.
Nothing about politics is theoretical for me. I've had the experience of writing a letter to my family, putting it in an envelope marked just in case, and leaving it where they would know where to find it in case I didn't come back from Afghanistan. I have the experience of being in a marriage that exists by the grace of a single vote on the U.S. Supreme Court. I have the experience of guiding a community where the per capita income was below $20,000 when I took office into a brighter future. I'm running because the decisions we make in the next 3 or 4 years are going to decide how the next 30 or 40 go. And when I get to the current age of the current president in the year 2055, I want to be able to look back on these years and say my generation delivered climate solutions, racial equality, and an end to endless war. Help me deliver that new generation to Washington before it's too late.
Thank you. Senator Sanders, 45 seconds, the floor is yours.
I suspect people all over the country who are watching this debate are saying, these are good people, they have great ideas. But how come nothing really changes? How come for the last 45 years wages have been stagnant for the middle class? How come we have the highest rate of childhood poverty? How come 45 million people still have student debt? How come 3 people own more wealth than the bottom half of America? And here is the answer. Nothing will change. unless we have the guts to take on Wall Street, the insurance industry, the pharmaceutical industry, the military-industrial complex, and the fossil fuel industry. If we don't have the guts to take them on, we'll continue to have plans, we'll continue to have talk, and the rich will get richer, and everybody else will be struggling.
Thank you, Senator.
And lastly, we'll hear from Vice President Biden. Sir, you have 45 seconds.
Thank you very much. I'm going to lead this country because I think it's important we restore the soul of this nation. This president has ripped it out. It's the only president in our history who has equated racist and white supremacist with ordinary and decent people. He's the only president who has engaged and embraced
went straight for the fine people
and thumbed their nose at our allies. I'm secondly running for president because I think we have to restore the backbone of America, the poor and hardworking middle-class people. You can't do that without replacing them with the dignity they once had. Lastly, we got to unite the United States of America as much as anybody says we can. If we do, there's not a single thing the American people can't do. This is the United States of America. We can do anything if we're together. So God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.
Vice President Biden, thank you.
Okay.
We want to thank our candidates. We've had 2 nights of spirited debate on a range of issues, 20 candidates in all. We want to thank all of the candidates last night.
Seriously, it takes guts to run and stick your neck out like this to you guys and to the 10 last night. Thanks for having the guts to do this.
I would also like to thank the audience for completely ignoring our suggestion not to react. We made it a lot more fun.
Also, thanks to the Democratic National Committee and the Florida Democratic Party.
And, of course, thank you to everyone at the Adrian R. Center for hosting us here and our terrific audience.
So, conclusion, Yang gang is over.
Yang was a huge, giant disappointment. Like, as much as I'd like to spin this, I'm glad we only have a small audience to talk in front of, because if I had to go into a spin room right now for Yang in front of like America, I'd be lying my ass.
Yep.
And I don't like to lie. I just don't like to lie that much.
Okay, so wait. Here's the question: are people gonna spin it like they did it with Gabbard?
I thought Gabbard did better than Yang. Jeez.
No, I agree. She did do better. She did significantly better than Yang.
Her only problem is she didn't talk. But his problem was he didn't talk much, and when he did talk, he looked frightened. I
thought Tulsi sounded very boring and rhetoric-y and empty.
Yeah, they all sounded pretty boring. My takeaway is I think Kamala is going to be the nominee.
She did do good this debate. This debate definitely helped her. Definitely helped her out here.
Yeah, and they're still.
I don't know.
I think. Go ahead.
I think Bernie's doing really good in this debate too, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a Democratic primary. I feel like they want a woman. They're still seething from Hillary.
He's too white male. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, obviously, Camilla has proven in this debate that she's willing to play dirty pool with race.
Yeah,
and I think that's
she went there.
Yeah, I think that's what the base wants. Unfortunately, I don't think it's good for the party. I don't think it's a winning strategy. I don't think she stands a snowball's chance in hell of beating Donald Trump. I think
she pulled the switchblade on Joe Biden and stabbed him in the kidneys.
She's going to do that same thing with Trump, and that's why I think Hillary lost. Seriously, people are sick of that shit.
Yep.
Yeah,
people are sick of it.
They are. They're totally sick of it. Their focus group. I wouldn't be surprised if they're focus grouping people from Twitter. Like if they're saying if they're putting the casting call for focus groups on Twitter, they're like, yeah, we need people for our focus group. Here, let me find some dingbats.
Let's get a good sample size of the average American. We'll just ask Twitter, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Do
you think Buttigieg, did he help himself, or because I felt like he just kind of was like whatever?
Buttigieg is 14 years old, Sitch. He's not old enough to run for president. Okay.
You're saying they just let him on there because they thought he was like cute, so like, hey, of course you can go on stage.
He's on,
little boy.
I don't really want to say it, but we all know why he's on there. Okay, like
you. How dare you? How dare you? I insinuate.
You say it, and then I will deny that's what I was thinking, and then you will know what I was really thinking. Okay?
You homophobe, Adam.
What's
you
that?
Dirty homophobe. How dare you say that?
Come on. The Democratic Party wants to cover their diversity basis, okay?
Yes.
Let's be honest here.
Okay.
I mean,
I agree.
I could care less. Like, I don't like the fact that people make their sexual orientation like their identity. Like, come on.
Well, he's not doing that though.
No, he's not.
At least not
no,
in this
it's
debate,
great.
yeah.
It's totally great. It's totally great. Yeah. But I'm just saying, a normal 14-year-old wouldn't be on that stage.
Little PDB.
Unless he had something else going.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that Donald, there's gonna be what are those hats with the little propeller on the top thing?
A beanie.
There's gonna be some memes going around. If Buttigieg even gets close.
Some PDB with a beanie on is what you're saying? Okay.
I found a article in the Atlantic here with a very interesting headline.
What does it say?
The inescapable challenge of talking while female.
Oh no! Is this about this debate?
From last night's debate.
Oh my
God! The gender
Wait.
dynamics at last night's debate were familiar. The women waited for their moments. The men butted in. I knew it. Didn't I call this? I totally called this. I did not know that it would be in as reputable a rag as the Atlantic. I mean, the Atlantic, let me say prestigious, because I don't, like the New York Times is prestigious. I don't know that it's reputable anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, see, now they're going to say, oh, people didn't like Kirsten Gillibrand because even though she kept trying to interrupt,
They're cutting did you just mute the volume?
Yeah.
They're running the racist fight. This is why I'm thinking it's Kamala, because like this racist fight that they had, this is going to be the news tomorrow. This is going to be the whole debate is going to be reduced to this fight. They're going race politics again, and it's so sad because
they're going to say, "Oh my God, did you see that moment that Camilla dragged Biden?" Yeah,
exactly.
That's what they're going to say.
Yeah.
They're going to say,
it's so funny, the line that she said about the food fight. The media is going to run with the food fight tomorrow. It's all going to be all about the food fight.
Right. They're going to say this time, but people didn't like Kirsten Gillibrand because she kept trying to speak and she was too strong. But if she was a man, they would have liked her for that.
Oh yeah, that's going to be the subsequent article in the Atlantic. Butting in a woman.
The latest from the Atlantic says, Kamala Harris seizes the moment again. Right next to, the Democrats challenge Bernie Sanders on his own turf.
I had thought Kamala was probably going to be the nominee just based on her biography.
People have been saying that since the beginning.
Yeah, totally. And just the fact that everyone is, I mean, a lot of the parties they're upset about the Hillary thing. Like, it almost seems like they're monomaniacally focused on woman president. Like, it's woman or bust in the Democratic Party.
Well, okay, so here's going to be interesting. What if it comes down to her and Cory Booker? How's that going to play out?
Interesting. Well, that scenario, like the black guy against the woman, has already played out with Obama and Hillary, so it's not new narrative ground for us.
Yeah, and Obama beat Hillary, so
yeah, stomped her.
Like, it was like domestic abuse. Is what you're saying.
Took it away from her for 8 years and just held it like right in front of her.
Rubbed it in her face.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, here,
you want this? You want this?
Yeah, he's like, look, keys to the White House. Oh, you know you lived in the White House. You know what the keys look like. Yeah. Oh wait, the first lady. Oh yeah, special keys for the president. Yeah, you're right. We have Air Force One keys on here.
You get the secretary key. Here's the secretary key.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny.
Psycho Mate for $2 says, press D to deport. How dare you, Psycho? How dare you? Okay, we're giving free healthcare.
Yeah, we will give free healthcare to every person on the planet, okay?
Oh, I can't. That's going to be so devastating to them. That's going to dog them for the rest of the campaign.
It doesn't play well. It's like, not only are we fighting for you to get health care who are suffering under this terribly corrupt medical system in the United States, now we want to offer this hypothetical health care to whoever, like anywhere. It's like, come on, guys.
Chuck Todd is like the worst liberal activist of all time. Okay, the first debate, he's like trying to get everyone to say that they're gonna grab your guns away.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Then this debate, he's like, I want everyone to raise their hand to say they're gonna give free medical treatment to illegal immigrants. Like, Chuck Todd, what are you doing?
Are
you a plant from the RNC? What are you doing, Chuck
exactly.
Todd?
I want to medically engineer the death of the Democratic primary here.
How can I do that?
Everyone raise your hand if you're for late-term abortion.
Yes. Oh, my God. I wish he would have asked. Why didn't he ask that question? Yeah. That should have been it.
Yeah.
That should have been it. Sean Welch for $2 says, President trying to get funds for beds Dems won't give. So I saw someone sent me on Twitter. Let me see who it was. I don't know. Somewhere in my mentions. That apparently, because you asked like earlier, they were saying that there's something about, Trump didn't want to give toothbrushes or something to.
Right.
Oh, it was the cookie cabal. Apparently, I don't know. It seems like there's weird court cases been going on since 2015.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter.
Weird, some weird jurisdictional thing. So that whole thing's probably some kind of fake.
Pre-Trump. Yeah, it's fake news.
It's pre-Trump. Yeah, so it's probably fake news. Hater Jeffrey A for $5 says, my mom has been fighting to get her citizenship for over a decade.
Oh my God.
Now here legally, screw her, right? That's right. Yeah, who cares that she's trying to do it the right way? Fuck her.
Yeah.
Fuck her. You just open the borders for everyone. Just don't deport anybody. That's fine.
Yeah, every friend that I have that has a green card and is here legally hates this. Like, let everyone in. It's like, do you know what I went through to get my citizen? It's the same thing when they're talking about forgiving college
debt. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're like, hey, wait a second. I fucking worked while I was going to college. I paid off my student loans.
I know.
Like nothing like giving me, the hard-working guy who did it right, the middle finger.
So how do you solve that? How do you fix that problem without screwing over the people?
Debtor's prison.
No, Adam. Bad Adam. No. We're not doing debtor's prison.
These institutions are really just taking advantage of the kids. I mean, as far as loaning them a bunch of money that they don't have, it's the same thing as the housing crisis. I mean, these ninja loans that they talked about, right? No income,
no assets.
Yeah, no assets. You got a Social Security number here. Buy a $500,000 home. We'll take care of it. Yeah,
exactly.
That they're doing the same thing. They're like, whoa, like how does a 18-year-old kid straight out of high school have any assets? Like, and he wants to become what? A reporter for Vox? Oh my God, you're gonna make $15,000 a year.
Yep.
Let's give him $200,000 for his degree. Yeah.
Yeah, the price of college has gone up so ridiculously.
Yeah, they're setting these kids up for failure.
They are setting them up for failure. Well, see, but part of the problem, on one hand, I like, we all like the idea that, kids should be able to get loans, from private entities or from the government or whatever to go to college. But it's like, maybe I'm assuming like that's why colleges can charge so much, because if people didn't have access to those loans,
no, they would have to bring the prices down.
Right. Wouldn't they just, or would there be enough rich people who just didn't get in because they didn't have the grades would be allowed in?
This is the libertarian argument, and I am sympathetic to that argument, because the only reason they're giving these, the only reason the banks will make these loans is because they're backed up by the government. The government is the dumb entity, because the bank is going, oh, there's no way I'm going to make my money on this loan, but hey, I'm going to sell it. So who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to sell it to the dumb government who will buy this stupid loan for this kid's gender studies degree. He's never going to pay this back. So they're almost just, they're doing the bidding of the government. So it really is, it's a dumb government.
Dumb government. Darth Fagit, our favorite super chatter, for $10, says there are so many of them.
That's good.
So many. Good one. Grammatron, who I just moved and I lost the page. Hold on. Grammatron 3000 for $5 says, I love how they seem to think we can support both a welfare state and open immigration. I know. It doesn't work that way. You pick one. Okay? And not the open immigration one. Well, no, we don't need a welfare state. But you can have something. We can have something, right? We can have some kind of medical reform. But
our
not
healthcare, just pass a bill that says whenever a human being asks what something costs, you have to be able to answer it. Just pass that law. Just that law. Like, how many times have you asked in a healthcare situation what something costs and they can't even tell you?
Because, that's a good point. That's a good point.
They have no idea. They're like, we don't know. We don't know.
Right.
Yeah, we can't tell you. It'll be less than this. We'll tell you that. How about that? Yeah, no, it's ridiculous.
Animal Collective 1 for $4.99 says, if they mention caged children anymore, Biden will blow his load too early and fall asleep before the end.
No. That's too funny for the internet.
Disavow. Hallucinate for $2 says, Yang needs to appeal to the middle class. He needs to appeal to a living, breathing human being in that debate.
He sorry, Yang, and you destroyed your opportunity.
Yang really did not do well.
They're all the Biden. They had the chyron up that said Biden, Camilla moment dominated debate. They're going to be there. Why is race such a catnip for the media? It's because all the media is left wing, and this is like their sacred value.
Well, it's the most low resolution outrage bait that's going to appeal to the most number of people. Like, everyone understands the concept instantly.
Yeah, you're a racist. I'm reading I'm reading that book on hate crime hoaxes.
Oh, really?
Oh, God. It's so hilarious. He's like stacking up all the hoaxes. And it's funny because some of the hoaxes are inspired by other hoaxes. It's like I saw this other person that, this terrible hate crime, and it made me think we have a problem, and I wanted to bring more attention to it. And the original hate crime is a hoax.
Right.
Man.
Alex Karras for $2 says, hey, kids, don't forget to like the video support. That's right, kids. Click that like button. Share this. Do all that good stuff. Subscribe. Hit the bell. Show us how much you
Turn on notifications. Make sure they come to your cell phone. Put your phone number in the chat so we can call you.
Put your credit card number and the 3 digits on the back in the chat bar. Joshua Cornelius for $2 and then $10. Thank you, Joshua. Says, wish Trump was doing a live stream during this debate. I ditched Stitch and Adam in a New York Mint to watch that. Well, you know what? He's not. Adam, why don't you ask Trump to be on our next stream? Okay, you're the guy.
I'll do it. I'll tweet at him right now.
You tweet at him right now.
We'll get Trump back on to him that we would move over to that stream too. It's like we'd be watching Trump as well.
That's true. We would just watch it. We would be commenting on Trump's commenting on the live stream.
Trump knows to keep it interesting.
Right.
Trump also, I hate to say this, but the crazy lady was right about, like, nobody cares about all this policy nonsense. She's like, wake up, you losers. Like, nobody cares. But then she went into, like, the love thing. Like people care about that.
She's my favorite candidate, okay? She's an anime character. She's a magical girl with a magic wand that has like a heart on the top of it. She's Sailor Moon, okay? She is going to fight and bring down the orange bad Cheeto man with the power of love and friendship.
She was interesting, and I think she actually got more debate time than Andrew Yang, to be honest with you.
I have the thing open. She got 5 minutes of speaking time.
And what did Yang get?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. That's awful. Yeah.
3 minutes.
They set him up for failure in the very beginning, because he introduced Yang like everyone had already heard of him, and that's not remotely the case. Like, this is his first time in front of these kind of numbers. But he's like,
right, but you gotta if you're running for president, you gotta make the way yourself.
No, you can't rely on Chuck understand. Yeah, I understand. You got to.
You can't rely on Mr. Raise your hand and give free healthcare to legal immigrants. Okay.
Yeah, these people are trying to sabotage people.
Yeah,
they really are.
He's not doing anyone any favors.
Yeah, their brains are off.
No,
they're like, I'm on TV. Look at me.
Seasider for $10 says the chosen ones, Tulsi and Yang, were nothing more than internet hype and are as crazy and dangerous as the rest of these snakes. Ooh, America versus the Democrats 2020. Great stream. Love you guys. Now, I don't agree that Tulsi and Yang are crazy or dangerous. I just think that they really dropped the ball in terms of turning on the charm and charisma.
I wonder about the UBI thing, because I wonder if it's like the housing crisis. Because the housing,
what do you mean?
The housing crisis was created because we gave a bunch of money to people who flooded the market searching for homes. So all of a sudden,
that's not what. No, Adam.
Hold on.
How dare you? How dare you come on my street?
Are you telling me? Well,
and regurgitate the right-wing talking point about the housing crash.
Here we are.
Okay.
Here it
comes.
How
dare you do this to me, Adam? I am the guy that brings up the housing crash at the drop of a hat. You do this to me?
Well, you never made your video. I don't know. You disagree. Well, economics is simple supply and demand, right? The housing demand didn't go up. The number of buyers went up tremendously because we gave them money to buy homes.
No. It went the demand. No, the problem was the banks, once they realized that they could start bundling the houses together, the mortgages as securities, okay, and they could package them off to other people and not give a crap about them. Then the banks were the ones that they wanted more demand. They're the ones that kept saying to the local branches, we need more mortgages. We need more mortgages. And that's why the local branches kept lowering the rates and going for the ninja loans.
Right.
But that's not the government giving people money. That's the banks lowering the requirements because they don't care if people pay them off or not.
So let's ignore who's giving who money.
Okay.
More people had money.
Right.
Which is the same thing Yang is saying. More people will have money. But those people immediately become competitors in a market for resources.
Right.
Now, the reason why housing prices went up and up and up and up was because people were like, well, I want a home and that guy's bidding that much and I'll bid more because I just got this money from the bank that means nothing to me because I'm never going to pay it back anyway. Right?
Well, the housing market was artificially inflated.
Right. By just adding more players to the housing market, right? People who couldn't afford homes all of a sudden were bidding against you in buying a home.
Right.
So if the UBI passes and everyone gets an extra $1,000, like how is that going to affect the price of like rent and stuff like that? Because rent, I'm assuming, operates the same exact way as mortgages do.
Right. You're saying the price of everything is just going to go up to compensate for the $1,000.
Perhaps. I don't know.
I mean, if every individual person had an extra $1,000, I mean, like, how could the price of everything go up? Like, how much would that be to reflect that? Like a penny? Like,
do we agree this is why? Do we agree this is why the price of homes went up?
Why?
Like the houses didn't gain a bunch of. The houses gained more value because there were more people that had money who were able to buy them. That's why they went up in value. More players were artificially added to the housing market, to the buyer's market.
Okay, so once the banks realized that they could make so much money off of the mortgage bundles and they lowered their requirements,
right,
that artificially inflated the market, and people thought that they could just start flipping houses.
Right.
So so people were buying houses they had no intention of living in, or they would buy a house they couldn't afford with the idea of, well, if I can't pay back the loan, I can always just sell it for more and come out ahead.
Right.
Right.
Well, I know that
I don't see how that translates to UBI.
But people were flipping homes because they knew that there were people out there that wanted homes.
Right.
And there were people out there that wanted homes because they got some free money from X.
No, they didn't get free money from anyone. Okay, from the bank. Yeah, okay, I understand what you're saying. Right.
Right. I'm just saying that if Yang puts $1,000 in everyone's pocket, everyone is going to show up at the party with this. There's going to be the same amount of resources there, but all of a sudden they're going to be able to bid more.
Okay, but wait a minute. This is why I said I think it's a bad comparison. Okay, because the housing market, you're talking about a singular market where the problem was it was artificially inflated. It was fake demand was created. Okay, if you give people money,
why was it fake demand?
Because it's not like people were buying houses because they thought they could turn around and sell them. They weren't buying houses because
they were turning around and selling them. They were turning around and selling them to people who wanted houses.
Yeah, but no, because a lot of the people who they were selling it to also just wanted to flip houses.
No, you don't.
Or they couldn't afford the house in the first place.
You're not buying a house from a flipper to flip it yourself.
I don't know. How do you know that?
So there are people. Let's say you have 10 people, okay?
Right.
And 2 people can afford a home, right?
Yes.
And 8 people can't afford a home, right? And you have 3 homes.
No, I understand. I understand your point. Look, okay. I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is you're comparing a market that had an artificial bubble created into it. You can't compare that.
What created the artificial bubble?
That's okay. We're gonna get in a debate if we talk about that. That's not important.
I have a debate channel.
Wait a minute.
Subscribe.
Wait a minute.
Hit the bell. Notifications.
A singular market being artificially inflated. You can't compare that to people getting more money that they'll spend on whatever they want in any market. They're not creating artificial. Them getting them $100,000 extra is not going to create fake demand in some market.
No, they already have demand for things. They just don't have the money to be able to afford those things. And the prices of those things are reflected by the demand for them.
Right.
So when the demand goes up for things, people raise the prices on things, correct?
Yeah.
So giving people money will create the demand because they always wanted it. There was just no way that they could get it.
What I'm saying is if people get $1,000, it's not like everyone's going to go out and spend that money on one thing. Everyone's going to spend it on a bunch of different things.
Right.
So it's not. So that's why I'm saying like the kind of market increase you're talking about, like it would be over the entire economy. So you're talking about some minuscule amount of demand price being raised.
There's too many factors at play for us to know without like trying it out, I think.
Right.
I think we agree there.
So we should do a single state tryout.
Do you agree with me that the reason housing prices went up was because people got money?
I don't like that characterization.
What is the demand for houses?
What do you mean?
Well, there's a bottleneck. I mean, the demand for houses is infinite, right? If money's not an option, then the demand is infinite. Like, I'll take 10.
Well, as long as the population is increasing, if that's what you're implying.
Why 10? I'll take 20. I want 20 houses. How many houses do you want?
I don't want 20's too much. I'll take 3.
3? Oh, well, if you're going to take 3, I'm going to take 4 because I got to have one more house.
You got to be better. Yeah. You can't. I'll be the psychic.
What's the square footage on your houses? Because I want to make sure all mine have more square footage than you.
Right.
But it's just not true. I mean, the only thing stopping us from doing this is that we don't have money. But if we did have money, we would do it for real. Like I'd be like, look at Sitch's tiny little yacht.
Yeah, but you could wait a minute. You could say this argument about anything.
I know.
Any single.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, but
I'm saying it about UBI.
Yeah, but you could say like, oh, well, the government you shouldn't be able to take money off your taxes. Why are you allowed to take things off your taxes? Why are we allowed to take business expenses off our taxes? That's just the government giving us free money, isn't it?
Well, you're kind of divorcing it from my actual argument.
No, because the argument you're making is that simply anyone acquiring more money is going to somehow raise the prices of everything to a level that makes the amount of money you get pointless.
Well, there's a certain number of resources in the environment, right?
Right.
And there's
I don't know. You're the guy that says that you could have infinite amount of resources.
Yeah. Well, that changes everything. But I'm just saying, like, if you have 5 houses, right?
Right.
And there's, $500,000 available for buying houses. Those houses are going to be priced according to the amount of money that's in the environment to buy those houses, correct? I mean, that's how supply and demand works.
Yeah.
So if you add more money, then the prices of the houses go up, right?
Yeah, but again, you're talking about a single market.
Yeah, I know.
This is why what you're talking about makes sense when we're talking about colleges, because you have the government or some outside institution is specifically paying for one specific thing,
right?
College. So colleges can say, oh, well, we're getting all this extra money from the government, which we know that they'll pay us back, or we can just sell them the loan. So we're going to we can keep jacking the prices up.
Right.
I agree with you when you're talking about a single market.
Right.
But I don't agree with you when you say someone's going to get $1,000 and they can spend it on an unlimited number of different markets or products or whatever.
Right.
Services.
But everyone will. I mean, let's just face it. The only reason why I'm talking about the housing thing is because the housing thing is the one thing that everybody needs and like spends money on. So it's usually like the first thing. Like you get a house.
But $1,000 a month isn't going to net someone a house.
Well, I mean, you could probably rent a place for $1,000 a month.
Okay, but renting, that's not the same thing as buying.
Well, but rents, I'm saying that rents could go up accordingly. I know it's thinking. I heard that heavy sigh. Thinking is hard work. It is. You're burning a lot of calories.
Well, okay. Here's how we'll answer this question. Okay, we'll have to look at studies of when minimum wage goes up.
I'm not looking. Don't make me look at studies.
You're the one bringing it up, so you're gonna have to look at the studies. You have to look at these studies where when a minimum wage goes up, does the price of everything in that area start to increase because of minimum wage? Because would that be the closest comparison to UBI?
Do you know what's your take on? Because you know about rent control, like rent control. I'm thinking theoretically, like rent control drives the price of other housing up because the landlords, if they have to give someone a deal, well, it reduces the amount of inventory in the housing market. Like, what's your take on rent control? I think rent control actually does more harm than good.
Why do you think it does more harm?
Because it takes stock off of the market, and it disincentivizes people from building more homes because nobody wants to build a home if they're supposed to give a certain amount to rent control.
I see.
Yeah,
I see. I mean, I don't know anything about the numbers of rent control, so I don't really have an opinion on rent control.
Yeah, I've heard different stuff on it. What are you pro-gun as well? I mean, the arguments that I've heard from the gun side seem much.
I was going, wait, you just went from like A to Z. What's going on?
Well, I'm like, I don't know that I have a position on guns, but I'm like absorbing the arguments and the conservative arguments. Like the thing that really has persuaded me on. Like I listen to these arguments. Like I don't know that I have listened to enough arguments to have a position on rent control. And I obviously like I'm asking these questions about UBI because I don't necessarily know. I know in the housing market, what drove the prices of houses up was the fact that they were giving money out. It was like monopoly money. People were like, "Oh, now I can buy a house." I mean, people who.
Right, but again, you can't compare a single market's demand being artificially inflated to, because here's the key.
Too many variables.
Artificially inflated. Okay, the demand was fake. Right.
What created the fake demand?
Because the banks thought that they could just use these mortgages as a money-making scheme.
No,
that's what created the demand.
No.
Yes.
The accessibility of the money created the demand.
Yeah, but okay, the bank. Wait a minute. So the first thing that started it, the reason that there was an accessibility of money was because the banks thought they could make money off of giving people these terrible loans.
Yes. Yeah. Right? No, it's corruption. You're upset about the corruption, but you're not.
No, but I'm saying that's what created the artificial demand. It wasn't part of a normal market process. Okay.
Right. Yes.
So, but giving people extra money. They're not going to go. First of all, A, as I said, they're not going to all go out and spend it on a singular thing. And B, they're not going to create a bubble somewhere. They're not going to create a bubble in a specific marketplace by just having an extra $1,000 in their pocket. Some people are going to buy groceries. Some people are going to maybe pay rent. Some people are going to pay for medical stuff. Some people are going to buy books. Some people are going to blow it on money on coke and whores, right?
Coke is illegal, okay?
I meant Coca-Cola.
Okay. Prostitution, except for Nevada.
I meant legalized escort women.
Oh, okay.
That you call in those high-class magazines.
The girlfriend experience. I know what you're talking about.
The girlfriend experience. Exactly. Just girlfriend experience. This is companionship, Adam. Why do you have to be sexual?
I'm just saying that if you got like 5 girlfriends and suddenly everyone has money for girlfriends, all of a sudden the girls are like, hey, we should raise our prices. All these guys have money now.
Right. But that would be if the government says we're giving everyone $1,000, but you can only use it for girlfriends.
No, I understand what you're saying, but I don't. It seems like that logic applies to, like, you could just take that to all the resources, and obviously, like, those resources are going to go up in price, right?
What do you mean?
What creates the price? What creates the price of something? It's not what it costs to make. No.
That has something to do with it.
No,
it's both.
It has nothing to do with it. No,
it
has nothing to do with it.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
What do you mean? Why?
That's completely true.
If you can make something for 0 cents,
yes,
and it will sell for $500,000, are you saying that they're not going to
sell for $5,000? Wait a minute, it's not going to sell for $500,000 because someone else is going to make the same thing for 0 cents and charge less.
I see what you're saying. You're saying
like you go to this like a tool store, you buy a screw for like a penny,
right?
Because there's a million other people making screws.
Yeah, you're saying the prices would be driven down.
If Bob Lazar, okay,
you're saying they'll build more girlfriends, is what you're saying. They'll just make more girlfriends. They're like, everyone has money, we need more girlfriends.
If Bob Lazar had the UFO technology from Area 51. And it had a replicator on it, but no one else had the replicator, then yes, he could charge whatever he wants to replicate anything for free. But that's not a realistic situation.
I'm sorry. The chat.
You should be sorry.
I'm reading a little bit of the chat, and I think people are hating on me.
They should be hating on you. How dare! This is my channel. I am the hero here. You are the sidekick.
Adam is dumb. Well, I won't argue. I would think most
people. I would think most people in the chat would agree with you and disagree with me, but I guess not.
You're not. You don't even understand my argument here.
I understand. I completely understand your argument. What are you talking about?
Prices are going to go up. We're not.
Your argument here.
No one's going to be helped.
We'll pretend that we're on Think Club debate. Okay, I'll steel man your argument. Okay, your argument is that what causes prices to go up is demand for something.
Right.
And that if more people have more money, it's going to increase more demand, and there's going to be more players in the marketplace that they couldn't access before.
Right.
And thus prices of everything is going to go up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's your argument?
But you make a good argument with they'll just make more. And if they can make it for cheap, I guess the reason why the housing crisis, the reason why housing prices were inflated so much was because it's difficult to just create more. Like
right.
There's all the zoning bottlenecks. There's all kinds of bottlenecks with housing.
There's a misconception because up until that point, housing was one of the few things that would always go up. So no one could conceive of the house market doing anything but going up.
Right. So it became an investment. It was like the tulips.
Yes, exactly.
They're like, these tulips, man, they're great. We're getting rich off them. What? No one wants tulips anymore?
Right. I don't know what you're referencing, but I'll agree because it sounds like you agree. So
yes.
I'll agree.
There was a huge tulip bubble. You don't know about this? It was like
I don't know about the tulip bubble. No.
People were buying and selling tulips.
For what reason?
Because they were a valuable investment, man. People were buying them.
Okay, it's like Bitcoin.
Exactly, but with tulips, like with Bitcoin. Flowers. I'm gonna look it up.
Right. Bitcoin is inherently worthless, right?
Yeah.
But it has value. Anyways, Danimal Collective won for 90 minutes win. Okay. Danimal Collective won for $4.99 says, anybody remember when Obama and Biden let everyone responsible for massive financial mortgage fraud get away completely scot-free and gave them money? I do remember. Yeah. In fact, I was going to make a video. I never got around to it, where I was going to call out Eric Holder, the Attorney General under Obama.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Fuck that guy, who I believe one of the main reasons Obama had him be Attorney General in the first place was because he had written a paper under the Bush administration where he was talking about the dangers of going after the CEO for going criminal, commit financial crimes. So I really believe strongly that Obama putting Eric Holder in charge was a signal to the banks saying, we're not going to arrest you. And I think that's what has led to everything. I think SJWs, the Tea Party, Trump, Occupy Wall Street, every bad thing, depending on what you consider bad or not, everything that's going on right now, all the division that's happening in this country right now, I don't think it would be happening, at least not to this extent, if they had arrested the banks, the CEOs of these banks.
Yeah, it's totally unfair. People hate unfairness.
Yep, because it showed everyone that everything's broken.
Tulip mania was a period in Dutch Golden Age during which contract prices for some bulbs of the recently introduced and fashionable tulip reached extraordinarily high levels and dramatically collapsed in February of 1637.
Oh, wow. So this is a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy. Totally destroyed the Dutch economy because they were like investing in tulips.
The weirdest fucking thing ever.
Well, it's no weirder than credits on someone's computer.
That's true. It is. That's a good point. It's no weirder than Bitcoin. Though I don't think Bitcoin is going to destroy the market. So
what if you get a dud bulb though? Oh God.
Asa Yar for 10 Aussie bucks says liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of tyrants. Therefore, it's not voting age you need to lower, but the age that you can own firearms.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good idea.
Wow. Asa Yar going full let them eat cake beheading.
Ozar's in Australia or New Zealand. I'm not sure which one, but they don't allow them to have guns over there.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
They don't got freedom like here in America.
It was AR. It's an AR-15 that I was thinking. That's what I've shot.
That's what you fought.
Yeah,
fired.
We had a.
No, I've.
You never fired one.
I've never fired an automatic weapon. No.
Next time you're in California, I'll take you out to shoot the AR.
You'll take me out.
Yeah.
Daniel Irish for $5 says, this debate has been bad. Yang is bust. Depressing. It was depressing.
Yeah, definitely depressing. He looked so frightened. He was like, oh my God, I can't believe there's this many people. And I'm talking to them right now. And I just said ass. Why did I say ass? They didn't even. And where's my tie? Why didn't I wear a tie? I can't believe my wife talked me into not wearing a tie. Oh God, I hate her now.
Really focus on the tie.
You could see his inner dialogue. Everything he was saying, it was like, you could see the immediate regret in his eyes.
Right, right. It was pretty bad. Pretty depressing, guys. Pretty depressing.
Yeah.
Shorts on a Stork for $1.99 says, wait till they start speaking Persian. That's right.
Oh,
have to appeal to the Iranians. There you go.
Did he say North Korea too? I think Yang said North Korea. I was like,
he said he would contact China, Iran, and North Korea. Right.
Right. I did.
That was the worst question, Chuck Todd. What a garbage question that was.
Chuck Todd's a terrible human being. All he wants to do is he wants to see. He wants to see. He just wants to set these people up for failure.
Do you think he wants 4 more years of Trump? It's good for ratings.
I don't know. I honestly think he's just not thinking. I think he's not. He's just on autopilot.
Maybe.
It's like no one's watching this debate. Everyone knows Trump's going to win.
Near Vaco Renton for 99 cents. Thank you very much, NR. The Pit Zajat for $5 says, ask something to Andrew Yang. He's the only one with different ideas. Yeah, they asked him 3 questions, I think.
Oh.
And he I don't know, because he was flubbing them. So I'm kind of like, maybe it's a good thing they didn't ask him more questions.
Yeah, he was. Remember the first thing he said? It was, excuse me?
Yeah. I said, yeah, and it was that's going to be a fucking bad meme, too, because they said, how are you going to pay for it? And he says, excuse me? Like, oh, so what? You know, I'm expected to pay for UBI? Excuse me?
I have to pay for this? Come on.
Yeah, excuse me. Come on.
You realize we print this money, right? We have presses.
We can just print more, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Shorts on a Stork for $1.99 says, platitude, virtue signal, orange man bad. There was a lot more orange man bad this night than there was the first night. At least it seemed like there was.
Yeah, I don't know. No, the Trump, we have to beat Trump is just, it's
not a winning strategy.
It's substanceless. It doesn't have any substance at all.
It's never won. It's never won before.
Yeah,
you got to run. You can't run against someone. You got to run, guys. If you ever look, listen to me. If you guys ever run for office, you got to run. You can't run against someone.
Yeah, aspiration.
Wise words. Okay.
You have to paint a picture of the future. Sex robots for everyone.
Yes.
You draw a picture for them. You give them something they want.
Draw the picture of the sex robot.
Don't stutter when you talk about the sex robots, okay?
Put it right on your bumper of your car. Big picture of a sex robot.
When they ask you how you're going to pay for the sex robots, don't say, "Excuse me?"
You tell them that you're going to whore out those sex robots to pay for themselves.
You tell them the sex robots will pay for themselves. It's impossible for them not to.
Why aren't we running for president, Adam? This will be our platform.
I know, we should.
Forget you. We don't need universal basic income. You need universal basic sex robots.
Yeah. Why would you even need to? Who needs food if you have sex robots? Who needs housing?
A mouth in every house.
Was that a chat? Oh my God, that's hilarious.
No, that was just me.
That's awesome.
A pussy in every pocket.
Oh my God. That's a variant on the chicken in every pot. the popular chicken in every pot meme. I get you. I see where you're going with this.
You see where I'm going.
This is good stuff.
There we go. Sitch and ad of 2024. We're doing it.
Exactly. We're gonna dominate the female vote. Oh wait, maybe not.
Yeah, we will. You know why? Women won't have to degrade themselves with pornography and being sex workers anymore.
That's true.
Okay, that'll all go away. We'll all be replaced.
Automation.
By sex robots. Automation. The one time people will actually want automation to take their jobs away. Anyways.
Yeah.
The opinionated one for $5 says Yang may be. Oh, I just lost it. So Yang may be ahead of his time, to be honest. But as automation becomes more common, he will become more important than we realize. They will take him seriously. I agree completely. Again, I like Yang. I would have liked to see him succeed on stage. I just think he did so poorly in this debate.
That's called a charisma bomb right there.
Well, he's not. It's not like he's not a charismatic guy either.
His confidence went from like a 10 to a 2.5. Like it was.
I think
bad.
he wasn't prepared to speak, because you have to speak a very specific way to be able to weave in rhetoric and policy in a 45-second response.
Right.
And you got to not be afraid to just keep going, talk over the host, because that's what everyone does. So
yeah, he's really the interviews. I mean, he really listens to the interviewer and answers the questions. And I guess most of these politicians, they don't really even listen to the interviewer there.
They just say whatever they want. Yeah. That's true. David West for $20. Thank you very much, David. Says, are we at war with Iran or something? They all talk like Trump got us into World War III already. It's just ridiculous. Also, all of them for Medicare for illegals. This debate was boring. Yang was their Trump, and they ignored him.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with people acting like we're already at war with Iran is weird, especially because Trump seems like he wants to avoid war.
Yeah, big time. You think he wants to go into 2020 starting a war with Iran? No, hell no.
Yeah. I don't think. I think he's read the tea leaves enough. Because I mean, look how much flack Ben Shapiro got.
Yeah. No, nothing would lose him the presidential election faster than starting a war with Iran.
Right. It's interesting how things have changed so much that the isolationist wing has kind of taken over America.
If Iran killed American soldiers, which I mean, it's all drones now. How's that even going to happen? Like if they like pulled some terrorist attack,
right,
totally. He'd get us into a war, and he would get reelected. Like
exactly.
But he's not going to get us into a war over nothing.
Right.
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, I know the Medicare for it all was insane. And again, I don't know. We've been harping on Yang enough as it is. But David West, thank you very much for another $5 and another $2. Says Democrats, climate change will kill us all. Also, Democrats, climate change is not a priority. I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was so. They were all very doom and gloom about climate change, but then when they were asked, they're all like, "Nope, people want money more than they want climate change."
Yeah.
When you read that poll yesterday, didn't you say climate change was like below?
Yeah.
It was like people were more concerned about women's rights, according to Gallup, than they were concerned about climate change. I mean, how depressing is that?
People are concerned about whatever the news presents as the biggest problem, and climate change is never in the news.
It's not sexy. You're right. You're 100% right. See, that's the sadness here, is that if it turns out that climate change is real and we're all screwed, it's like our news media is like dooming us to apocalypse because they're too concerned about racism and sexism.
Yeah.
Dave West for another $2 says attractive white women so oppressed in America. Yes, we all know how oppressed the attractive white woman is. So I don't know. I think you're being too kind. I wouldn't label Kirsten Gillibrand as attractive.
That closing, Yang tweeted that closing out, which is a terrible, terrible closing. Well, just obviously this is my opinion. Maybe you guys like it better than me.
But his closing statement?
He's playing off of, this is what got Obama elected, arguably, but it's just such a different time. He tweeted, "My vision for the campaign and for the country is a simple one. It's not left, it's not right, it's forward," which is Obama's like, it's not. What was Obama's? It's the United States of America line.
I don't remember what he said. I just remember hope and change.
It's not blue states. It's not red states. It's the United States of America, which is the same type of like.
Right.
But we're more polarized than ever. I don't know that it's a winning strategy.
That's a good point.
I could see people yelling out at a Democratic rally, "Fuck you, get Trump!" Like,
well, if there was any Democratic candidate that could poach votes from the right, it would be Yang, right?
Possibly, I guess. I don't know. I mean, aren't
go
ahead. Pragmatic culture.
Pragmatic culture for $2 says, rubbing in our faces. Pragmatic culture says, "Yang gang, Yang gang," over and over again. You know what, pragmatic culture? You know what, pragmatic culture? You can go fuck yourself.
I think he likes Yang. I think he really likes Yang. So
I think he's rubbing it in our faces.
No, I think he likes Yang.
Do you think he really? Okay, well, you know what? I take it back, pragmatic. I'm glad that you support Andrew Yang. So there you go, everyone. Pragmatic culture, biggest Yang ganger of all time. Hit him up on Twitter. Tell him how much he loves Andrew Yang. Just throw your support. Tanamo Collective 1 for $1.99 says, Kamala Harris's campaign slogan, "I with her." Yeah, she brought it in pretty bad at the end there. Not as bad as Kirsten Gillibrand brought it, but Kirsten Gillibrand she started her ending statement with, "Think of the women, of the womens, the womens." Man Faces World for $2 says, "Baby Buttigieg on the cover of every Mad magazine."
Yeah.
Why me worry? Yes. Lil Pete, PDB. I like PDB better.
PDB is good. That's nickname status right there.
Right there. Someone get that to Trump. PDB. Non-Vita Rex for $10 says, "Hey guys, just came from Crowder's live stream. It was fun. Couldn't hear much of what the candidates were saying, but that's where you guys come in. Thanks for streaming this, and I will watch later. Good night." Thank you very much for the money.
Yeah, good night.
Non-Vita Rex. And good night. Remember, 2024, sex robots. Sitch and Adam.
2024, we're going to be running against AOC.
I think she's here. Okay, here's what I'm wondering, because it just came out that someone found the pictures of the other side of the gate that AOC was crying on. No. You didn't see this?
Oh my God.
Oh, okay. So someone found pictures. I'm assuming they're real, not faked. They could be fake. Someone correct me if they're fake in the chat. Of the other side of the gate that AOC is screaming at, and guess what? There's no one fucking there.
It's all staged.
It's all staged. Just fucking no one. So to me, that seems like a death blow. I don't know if those pictures are real. I don't know how she's going to come back from that.
Really?
Because that's going to destroy her credibility with the SJWs.
Nah, she's just going to say, "Oh, I just got a phone call from my girlfriend."
You think? You think they'll forgive her that one?
I don't know. She'll spin some yarn about it.
I'm not certain. We'll see. We'll see. Hallucinate for $2 says, "Many students deceived by the promise of higher education." That's what I actually liked what PDB said about the problem isn't just student debt. It's the idea that you can't succeed in America without going to college. Though I don't know how you could possibly fix that, because we've gone past the days where you could get a manufacturing job, and be a middle class.
Yeah,
person.
Totally. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, we're back to the incentive thing. Like, if everyone has a college degree, you're competing in a market where you have to have a college degree just to compete.
Right. But that's because the market doesn't allow for mostly middle income and high paying jobs without a college degree.
Correct. Yes.
Though that might change in the future, because it could be that the market becomes so oversaturated with degrees that they don't care anymore.
Why doesn't the government just print the diplomas? Save some money. Just give the diplomas out.
There you go.
I mean, we all know those gender studies degrees are useless anyway. Who cares? Probably save some time.
Right. Man Face the World for $2 says, start GoFundMe to get Mr. Mustard Pants new jeans. Yes. We need to get Steve Kornacki some new fucking pants.
Steve Kornacki. We got the name now.
Come on. I got the name now. Yeah. Come on, Steve. I literally looked it up before.
That's funny.
I saw when I clicked the NBC video, I saw that he was still there wearing the same pants. And I said, oh, fucking Steve Kornacki.
I think it's a commercial.
What are you doing? You think he was advertising for those pants?
I don't know. We never listened to it.
Woodchuck00 for $5 says, Adam is correct. The 1996 HUD demanded 30% of loans were subprime, but by 2008, it was 60%. So he's saying, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, but there's a little bit more the prompt. There's a little bit more to the issue, too, because I don't know. I've seen numbers that say that the government loans, or not the government loans, that the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac's market share of the subprime mortgages was lower than all of the private banks by a significant margin.
Make that video.
I don't know. Maybe I got the wrong numbers, but that's what I saw.
Make that video.
But see, this is part of the problem too, is that when you have, because we have to compromise, which is a good thing, we get these kind of pseudo-private public entities. Like the government, if the government's giving out loans to people, if it was a completely 100% government-run organization, they wouldn't care if they lost market share, right? Because it's the government. They're not looking for profit. But when they make these agreements where they have to have these pseudo-private public entities like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, they actually have to make a profit because they're like owned by private individuals who want to make money. So that's why they start investing in all these toxic, negative subprime mortgages, because they say, oh, we have to retain our market share, which the government shouldn't give a shit about market share anyway in the first place.
You got to read Cornelius's super chat because I'm dying to know your answer.
Well, okay. Well, I'll get to it. The Wooster for $1.99 says, this super chat is full of love and energy. Thank you, Wooster. We're going to be anime magical girls, too, and we're going to fight off the evil Cheeto with the power of love and friendship.
The evil Cheeto.
The evil Cheeto filled with hate. We're going to beat him with love and friendship.
That lady was nuts.
I love that lady. She's my new hero. Oh, my gosh. She's my favorite.
I can't tell if you're being serious. There's a hint of seriousness in your voice. Like she's the new Yang for you.
Wouldn't you want someone like her to just keep existing in this race, like to the very end?
Oh, big time. She's totally crazy.
Exactly. I want to see her on stage at Trump. I want to see how that plays out.
She'd try to hug him.
She's going to defeat him with love.
Remember the awkward Hillary handshake when Hillary marched out across the stage, like.
Oh, right.
She's like, I'm taking this whole stage. Shook hands with him. Like that lady would try to plant one on Trump. She'd like be making out with him.
Oh my God.
Give me a little. I'll show you.
James Wilson for 20 Canadian. Thank you very much, James. Says Sitch, Patreon from the start. And thank you for all the awesome vids and commentary. When Biden is the eventual Democratic nominee, how hard do you think that Trump will push the infamous hot mic debacle with that 13-year-old redheaded girl Maggie? Do you know what he's talking about?
There's a bunch of cringy stuff that he's done, that Biden's done. And yeah, Trump will definitely do that stuff. Like that stuff's going to be in Trump commercials. Yeah, no, it's going to get.
Well, first of all, thank you very much. I'm glad you appreciate my commentary videos. I really don't think Biden has a chance of being the nominee at all. I mean, I think this is like a Jeb situation where everyone's like, oh, Jeb's gonna totally be the nominee. Like, he's got the money, he's got the name, it's in the lockdown. And then what happens? Jeb fucking explodes.
They're going to make Biden out to be the most racist man in America in the next 3 days. Like, I don't see how that's not going to happen. Like this, the race salvo has already been thrown, and the media can't can't say no to catnip. Yeah, no, I don't think Biden's going to be the nominee. He's got the wrong. He's got the wrong skin color. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. So I have the 13-year-old girl. That's the picture where like the little. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't. And he like he like gets really close to this girl, and he like whispers in her ear, and then he like kisses her forehead or something. It doesn't say what he said to her. I don't know if that got picked up on the mic.
The audio.
Yeah. So
I'm sure it did, anyway. or he wouldn't have mentioned it.
Right. Miles Kinslow for $5 says, "Hey guys, if you ever run for office, what would be your slogan?" We already answered this. I'm glad. I'm assuming.
Robots, right?
I'm assuming this was given before you heard our brilliant slogan. Okay, I'll say it one more time. Okay, a mouth in every home, a pussy in every pocket.
A pussy in every pocket.
Sitch and Adam. That's 2024.
That's crazy.
Sex robot. You love it.
I do love it. Actually, it's hilarious.
You love it. Alex Karras for $5 says, "I finally realized why I love you two so much. You remind me of my own internal conflicts. Long live logos." There you go. Okay, so here's the question. Here's the question, Alex. Who's the angel and who's the demon?
Oh, that's too difficult to decide. It's funny when It's funny when the stream, like the 5-hour stream, ends and we continue to argue for an hour.
Exactly.
It's hilarious.
We're thinking, people.
It is hilarious.
We got brains. We're thinking. Daniel Irish for $5 says, "Geez, Dan, thank you so much for Dan. You're giving a lot of money this stream. This conversation is much better than the debate. Yeah. Also, Adam is right. Sitch is wrong. Big wrong. See, I knew Daniel would take your side. I knew Daniel.
He's got the devastating question. He's got the devastating question. Oh wait,
what?
No, it's Cornelius.
No, that's Cornelius. Yeah, we're not there yet. Now, Daniel's got the purple cat.
Yes.
So he's got that going on. Shem Dupe for $9.99 says, "Sitch, if everyone bidding on houses gets $1,000, they'll have 1,000 more to bid and the prices go up. If everyone gets more, there's more to bid. Inflation 101. Same reason printing money inflates." Well, it's not the same reason printing money inflates. Okay, I understand what your point is, right? But it's not. You agree with that, Adam. It's not the same thing as printing money, because then you're actually changing what each resource is worth. Which having people have access to more money doesn't do any of that. You're just adding more demand.
Yeah,
is what your point is, Adam.
No, it is. It's inflation. Yeah, I guess this is the inflation. Yeah,
but
this is why you want to keep interest rates. You want, like, raising interest rates lowers inflation. Lowering interest rates raises inflation, because of you add. If the interest rates are low, people are incentivized to borrow money.
Right.
If the interest rates are high, people are incentivized to save their money and not spend on frivolous things like houses.
We've been on a low interest rate binge for like the last 40 years.
I know, yeah.
I mean, they're never going to raise interest rates.
You don't think so?
Why would they?
The thing that the libertarian argument, I'm very sympathetic to, but at the place where I think the libertarians get it wrong is this whole idea of like gold. They want something to back up the resource, and they are really peeved about the fact that banks do this cycle where they loan the money out like 10 times. They're able to make 10 times the amount of loans for the number of assets they have.
Right.
But it's a different concept of money, because they're forcing people in the environment to make promises about the future. Like, that kind of banking system is very much valuable, very valuable.
Mm-hmm.
You agree, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
That's part of the problem.
Yeah,
everything's fucked up.
Credit's amazing. Credit is totally amazing.
It's a double-edged sword, because it fuels the economy, but that's why I said they're never going to raise interest rates. because it fuels our consumerism economy.
Right.
And I don't see how we could ever turn away from that.
Yeah, maybe we are just slipping into the age of abundance like Yang is talking about, because Yang is very much saying that we have to get over this idea of scarcity. We're biologically tuned for scarcity. And it was very difficult actually to get people to be consumers. I mean, China's dealing with this right now because, you know, China, they were all starving like 20 years ago. So nobody's like, they're not, I mean, they're starting to become more consumers, but they're savers, they're investors.
Think of how crazy this is. If you're young, you won't know this, but old men like Adam will know. remember zero coupons, Adam? Okay. You go to a bank and you get some kind of, you give them money and they would give you, you know, you'd say, oh, we can't take out this money for 20 years, but you're going to get a set interest rate.
Yeah.
Like whatever the interest rate is right now, we're going to pay you that interest rate for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
And people, you could get, back in the day, you could get zero coupons for like 20% interest rate.
Yeah. No, interest rates were high.
Like 15% or 10%. I mean, could you imagine going to a bank and getting a 10% or 15% interest rate on your money?
God, I would kill for that right now.
Exactly. What do you get now? You get like 0.001%.
Yeah. You got to put your money at risk in the market.
Exactly. Anyways, Daniel Irish for $2 says, remember when Beanie Babies were an investment?
Beanie Babies. Yes, I do.
Oh, God. I'm so glad I never got into that. I was like, nope.
I couldn't even tell you what a Beanie Baby looks like, but I do remember the craze when everyone was like, Beanie Babies, oh, they're so... Yep. Yes.
We're living through that right now. Didn't you know that? But with Pops.
Pops?
Pops. Do you know what a Pop is?
No, I don't.
You know those little, they're like little chibi fat action figures that don't move, of like all the popular movies and comic book heroes and all that stuff? You haven't seen these?
No, they're valuable, huh? People are trading them.
Whatever, old man. You have to Google Pops. They're like the new Beanie Baby. Everyone's going fucking crazy for these things. Though that might have a better lasting power because they're of popular media figures. They're not just random animals or whatever. So, anyways,
did I tell you the story like how they, you know, when Christmas comes around, they always run out of the toy that everybody wants?
Mm-hmm. You did tell me this. This sounds very familiar.
They that's all like social engineering. That's all total bullshit. all total manipulation.
Right. Like diamonds.
They get the parents to promise that they'll get this toy for them for Christmas. So the kid has extracted the promise from the parent, and then the parent shows up at the store and they're like, they're out of it, right? They can't get it. But Christmas is right around the corner, so they have to buy him something. So they get him something else. And then a couple months after Christmas is passed, because the toy manufacturers are super in the hole after Christmas. Like, nobody wants to see toys for months.
Right.
So they all of a sudden they appear on the shelves, and the kid's like, "You promised." They're like, "God damn it."
You can't do that anymore now, though, because of Amazon.
Really? I wouldn't.
Because you can just order anything online.
It wouldn't surprise. Amazon. I've found stuff on Amazon that's out of stock. I don't have kids, so I don't know.
It's there's definitely stuff out of stock, but it's pretty rare these days, I think, to be able to literally not be able to buy something.
China would be throwing the toy manufacturer under the bus. They'd be like, "Buy them straight from us. We're the ones making them."
Exactly. Man Face the Wolf for $5 says, greed was green-lit by banks in the housing crisis, but, with two B's, impetuous to lend to everyone was by leftists who threatened banks to be labeled racist and regulated. I've heard that argument many a times, but I haven't seen evidence of it. So you can send me some articles, Man Face the World, on the tweeters, and I'll look at them. Because I've heard that argument repeatedly, but I don't know if I believe it.
Joshua's awesome.
Joshua Cornelius for $5 says, if everyone was given $1,000 in Bitcoin a month, would the value of Bitcoin increase or decrease? I everyone's giving $1,000 in Bitcoin. I mean, the instant intuition would be it would decrease, but I'm not sure. I think that might actually be a bad example, because you could make the argument that now that everyone has Bitcoin, they'd be more invested in Bitcoin, right?
The Bitcoin is set up like gold, though. Bitcoin is set up as a finite. Well, I guess maybe I don't know. Because there is more Bitcoin created, right?
You can create more Bitcoin. It's always being created, I believe, right?
Right. So it is. That's how it works. So it's not like gold then.
Well, it is like gold. Like it's like they literally call it mining. You have to get it.
Right.
So, but my point, I understand what Joshua's point is, but I think Bitcoin could potentially be a bad comparison, because I could weasel around this, as I will right now, and say that even though I understand your point, I think that if you gave everyone 1,000 Bitcoin, it could actually, at first, it would obviously be a decrease in price at first, but I think in the long run it would raise prices, because there's only a minority amount of people in the world that care about Bitcoin right now.
Oh my God, you're so weaseling. You're so weaseling.
I know, but you agree, don't you? You agree. So if everyone suddenly cares about Bitcoin, maybe the price will go up in the end of the day.
If I'm getting $1,000 in Bitcoin a month, I'm going to care a lot more instantly.
Right. Oh, it's $1,000 of Bitcoin a month. Oh, I didn't see that part. I thought it was a one-time thing.
If everyone was given $1,000 in Bitcoin a month,
would the
value of Bitcoin increase or decrease?
Right. Well, but here's okay. But let me answer your question for seriously though. The problem is that as Bitcoin is a finite resource. So
is it finite? You're confusing me.
Supposedly, that's the only thing that gives it value, right? That's finite.
But you're saying that it's created, it's mined.
I'm sorry, not finite, but like it's limited. There's some limiting factor, right?
I'm gonna look
it's artificial, but it's
Bitcoin
limited.
Finite. Go ahead.
Right. Okay. It's being limited. So if you took $1,000, here's the thing: if you took $1,000 in Bitcoin that already existed, and like took it from other people and gave it to everyone, would the price of Bitcoin go down? I'd say no. Why would it? But you're saying if you just created $1,000 in Bitcoin out of the air and gave it to everyone, yes, obviously the price would go down. But that's why I think it's a bad comparison. Like, yeah, if the government literally printed $1,000 extra and gave it to people, yeah, that causes inflation. If they're not doing that. They're redistributing $1,000 to different people.
Linked with the process is the stipulation set forth by the founders of Bitcoin that, like gold, it have a limited and finite supply. In fact, there are only 21 million Bitcoins that can be mined in total. See, and this
okay, interesting. I didn't know that.
This is the difference between the idea that there's gold as a finite resource and like finance is infinite, because like we're making promises to create things, to do things. Who knows what we'll create? Who knows what we'll do? That's the difference between credit and...
Okay, here's an interesting thing. You said there can only be 21 million Bitcoins, right?
Yeah, million.
There's 17
million. It's worse.
Yeah, 21 million. Yeah, there's 17.3 million right now.
Yeah, what happens when we hit 21 million?
See, here's the thing.
We gotta buy some Bitcoin.
No, but I think the opposite is going to happen. I think once the threshold's reached, it's going to hurt it. It's going to drop in price, because part of the reason Bitcoin is people care about Bitcoin is it's kind of like a pyramid scheme, because you could technically think, oh, I can go and get a computer or a bunch of computers and have them all mining for Bitcoin, and maybe I'll get lucky. And that's basically like free money, even though it's not, because you have to buy all those computers, but
yeah,
whatever. But once that option is taken off the table, you can't produce more Bitcoin. They can only be traded. Yeah. Doesn't it lose value?
Yeah, and not only that, the payment that people are getting for keeping track of the registry of who owns what is the mined Bitcoin. And once that mined Bitcoin goes away, who keeps track of the registry of who's trading what, who owns what?
Right.
Is it still... Because it's decentralized, like BitChute.
It's all bit. I don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand the technology of
what happens if everybody turns off their computer at once. We have to know this. This could be a tragedy.
Okay. But anyway,
Daniel, leave your computer on tonight. I'm not feeling good about this.
Did I answer Joshua's question to your liking, Adam?
No, you weaseled.
Okay,
but at least you admitted.
No, I didn't.
At least you admitted weaseling.
Wait a minute. I did not. I only weaseled as a joke the first time.
It's beyond human intelligence. There's no way we can.
Second time, I did not weasel. Okay. Think about it this way. If you were to take $1,000 of Bitcoin that already has been mined and already exists and redistribute it to every person on the planet, would that raise or lower the value of Bitcoin?
Cornelius, we need the answer. I don't know the answer.
I mean, here's the problem. It would probably lower it because there's only 20. If there's only 17 million, it's a bad comparison. It would lower it because if there's only 17 million Bitcoin and so much of the market is people being able to acquire it on their own, 1,000 Bitcoin would be. Oh no, it's not 1,000 Bitcoin. It's $1,000 in Bitcoin.
I'm unclear of whether he's just creating this $1,000 of Bitcoin out of nothing, or if he's buying the Bitcoin from elsewhere. I mean, like he's the owner of the Bitcoin. I don't know.
Anyway, whatever. We'll move on. The Pits of Jet for $5 says, AOC Trump Reddit reminds me a lot of demagogues of Mexico, where I used to live. They say blatant lies and people support it because they believe it.
Yeah.
Are you saying that AOC and Trump are Mexican? You racist? You racist of your own people, Pitt? How dare you? But yeah, it's unfortunate. It's definitely unfortunate. But that's what people do. They just say bullshit. And they get elected because that's what people want to hear. People don't want facts. Remember what the crazy lady said? Trump didn't win because of policy.
It's the most real thing anybody said on the stage tonight.
It's true. She said the most real thing out of anyone. This crazy lady. She peeked behind the curtain of reality. She saw the truth.
She did. She saw the codes of the Matrix.
She saw the giant squid at the end of Watchmen, and the horror of reality was revealed to her. Okay. Yeah. And it drove her to madness. But before she was driven to madness, she is able to relay that truth to the masses.
They all looked at each other like, what is she talking about?
Joshua Cornelius for another $5. Thank you very much. Says, for hookers and coke.
I will make sure that he spends that on both.
You'll make sure. You want pictures, huh?
Yeah.
So it's 12:19.
Time to go.
It was a good stream, I felt. I thank everyone who came. I thank everyone who gave us lots and lots of money, because we're good capitalists here at Sitch and Adam.
Do we get the weekend off? Do we get the weekend off?
we get the weekend off. We worked for 2 days in the middle of the stream, middle of the week. So I don't think there's going to be a Sunday stream, guys, this week.
Maybe, I don't know. We might feel it. We'll see. We'll feel it out.
We'll see how we feel on Sunday. How about that?
We might have stuff to talk about though, because this race thing might just blow up like crazy.
Oh, you think the Kamala Harris, Joe Biden thing's going to blow up?
Oh, I think it's going to go in directions they're going to turn our stomachs, to be honest.
Interesting. Yeah, we'll see.
To be honest.
I hope not. She had her fucking fangs in him. She's like bit him. She was like an alligator. She just bit him and wouldn't let go. She's like,
I know. He was like, make it stop. I'm not a racist, I promise. Where do I sign? I'll sign in blood.
You knew as soon as I love how she said, I don't think Joe Biden is racist. You're like, waiting for that butt. Waiting for that butt. Waiting for it.
So good. So good.
Zora Majora for another $2, sneaking in after right at the end, says, Sitch is still right about Watchmen for 2020. That's true. I'm very right about. When are you going to finish Watchmen, Adam? You're so close. You got one chapter left.
I'll finish it tonight. I promise.
Finish it tonight.
You have my word.
Good. I'm going to hold you to that. You hold me to hookers and coke, I'll hold you to Watchmen.
Okay. All right. Take care, everyone. Thanks so much.
Thanks for coming.